and gentlemen, please take your seat. The show is about to begin.
Presented by FYF Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon. Joined as always by my wildly handsome co-host, John Luke Garofalo. Our friend Coop with us, aka Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-hosts, John Luke Garofalo and Andrew Cooper. What's up, boys?
Good morning.
Morning.
You guys feeling all right this Monday? Have a good holidays?
Oh, the best.
So good, dude. So good. I'm all nogged up from all the eggnog I drank.
I was going to say, did someone hog all the nog? Tommy warned us against it.
He did.
The nog hoggers. It was actually me for sure.
Coop was the nog hogger.
Guilty.
As for you non-nog drinkers, I realized this year that there's a huge difference. Hood is the far superior nog, no question. The rest of the nogs
And
are
the
borderline
inferior nog?
undrinkable. Any of them, all of them.
Anything but Hood nog.
It's all.
Is that what you said the brand was?
It's Hood or nothing, really.
Hood nog or nothing. We got Tommy in the chat said, hope your Christmas was great and you got a present or toy. And Monday and I am so tired. Oi, oi.
Ooh, I like that.
I feel you, Tommy. Joey over here saying good morning. And we got Albert in the chat saying good morning, everyone. Good morning, Albert. Thank you guys for joining us bright and early on this Monday morning after the holiday weekend. We are in the midst of week 16, the fantasy football playoff semifinals. For most of us over here, maybe the finals for some of you, again, with really cool commissioners who forgot to change your league settings to have the finals in week 17. JL, I know we are in one league like that in which you are in the finals this week, right?
That is true. Yes, you are.
How's that going? If you're winning, I'm assume you're happy with the commission. If you're losing, I assume you're not so happy.
I am most likely lost, so screw you, Simon.
Yeah, I saw that coming. I could tell by the look on your face that you were losing.
Yeah, it's all good. I think I'm in four or six different championships, and I think I made it through 4, and I have 6, so I got knocked out of 2, or I'm going to most likely get knocked out of 2, I should say.
I'm going to tell you guys the situation I'm in the Guillotine League, and all I need you to do is lie to me and tell me there's a chance, okay? That's all I need from you. You just have to lie and tell me there's a chance. I don't need any real advice here because there's nothing I can do at this point. All agency has been removed. The decisions have been made. I'm down by 10.
Okay.
I have Mike Williams. The other person has Austin Eckler.
Dude, you totally have a chance.
I got it, right?
You totally have it. Yeah, I mean, Mike Williams, he's fantastic. And Austin Eckler, he has looked worse and worse every single week. So,
dude's hardly even a running back, dude. I think at this point, Josh Kelly's kind of really like the lead dog of that team.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really needed that validation this morning. I'm going to look no further into it. I'm not going to think about it. And then tomorrow morning when I advance, we'll all just say, "Yep, we knew it.
We knew it all."
Somebody's gonna clip me saying Joshua Kelly's the lead dog of this team and get me like I'll lose like 30 followers.
They weren't real followers anyway.
From now on, they're just going to respond with a link to a video of you saying that over and over and over again.
Eckler's phased out.
Tommy in the chat saying you have no chance. Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate it.
What a good guy.
What a good guy. Guys, it is that time of morning. I hope everybody in the chat brought something to eat, brought your breakfast, because we're bringing everything else. We got the stories. We got the topics. You guys just got to bring your own breakfast. Coop, you got some breakfast this morning?
I do got some breakfast, but just a reminder, you folks in the chat, I not only want to hear of any interesting news stories you guys think of, but I actually want to know what you guys are having for breakfast. I had a bagel and I have some coffee. Pretty good.
You better tell us in the chat. I had a cinnamon roll.
I had a sparkly nice and a bagel on the way.
What kind of bagel?
I have no idea. Whatever kind is here.
That's pretty surprising. It's pretty fun.
Jail, you had a cinnamon roll?
Yeah, it's more like a cinnamon bun, I guess. My mom makes them every Christmas, and they're so good. It's just like
What's
a roll of Costco rolls with butter and cinnamon. Oh,
Mm.
so good.
What's the difference between a cinnamon roll and a cinnamon bun?
Swirl.
The swirl.
Oh, I guess they're right. So I really don't have cinnamon rolls then. I really much only have.
Which is weird because this is like they were on Costco roll, so maybe you would consider them a cinnamon roll.
Huge controversy to start the show this morning.
Yeah, I don't. I'm
Wow.
sorry, guys. I did
Yeah,
not.
you just
bring this to
blew
us.
my mind by like cinnamon roll in my mind. Clearly, there's a swirl.
Oh,
but
me
a
too.
roll
I
doesn't
said
have
swirls
a
too.
swirl.
I'm with
Huh.
you, Simon. I was right
That's
there
odd.
on that train with
And
you.
then the restaurant Cinnabon, B-O-N, clearly a play on Cinnabon, sells cinnamon rolls.
Oh my God.
Oh man,
What have we just
we're unrolling
uncovered here?
something here? Yeah, this is a conspiracy. This is
We're
deeper than
unrolling
we
something.
thought.
Like the cinnamon roll.
The feeds are just gonna cut, and it's gonna be a message from like a guy in like a Cinnabon mask that's just like the
Big
FYF
Cinnabon's gonna
Morning
come
Show
shut us
has
down.
has been canceled.
Cinna-
Too close to the Cinna sun.
I was trying to think of a clever like wordplay on Achilles.
Q-Bun. Q-Bun is going to show up here.
Cuba.
Q-Bun is going to show up
Q-Bun.
here and just like, just in dark cloaks.
We're 6 minutes into the show, and we made a QAnon cinnamon bun
Cinnamon,
crossover.
yeah,
That's
rep-
it is 6 or
Pretty
6
sharp.
a.m. where I am. It's a little early for a cinnamon bun.
So here's my question. So me and Simon had bagels, but you had a cinnamon bun and or roll.
Yes.
Would Q-Bun be mad at us or mad at you?
All of us, I think, for uncovering their secrets would be my guess.
But you're the one actually. You're the one eating the roll. You're the one that started this whole thing.
That's true. Well, if Q-Bun, if it's against what they believe, for anybody to eat cinnamon rolls, then I am enemy number one.
Oh,
But you might be safe though. You might be safe. We might be in trouble for eating
Yeah.
bagels.
Now, if they favor the people who eat cinnamon rolls, then in which case I'm their king, most likely. So either
And
way,
I think they could forgive my one morning transgression because boy, oh boy, have I supported the cinnamon roll cause throughout my life.
man, I put a lot of time and energy
The
into
number
that.
of gross Cinnabons I've eaten from the mall or the airport, or the number of just like we would have cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning, jail at home, but they were the Pillsbury, wrap them out of the tube. And I'd eat 6 of them every year, like just
All
nonstop.
6.
However many are in front of me, I'm eating them.
That's like a whole tube.
Well, now
You've
the
been there once,
jail's
too.
now the jail's king. He can spare us. Thank you. Thank you.
I got you.
We got Albert in the chat saying I came back and won one of my matchups by 2.2 because of Fournette.
Let's
There we go,
go.
baby. And Joey in here saying if Mike Williams scores 4 points tonight, I beat JL in a league to go to the championship. Also, if Mike Williams scores 4 points, I get knocked out of a semifinal. Gotta love fantasy.
Gotta love fantasy. Yeah, that's the other league that I'm most likely not going to advance in.
Well, Joey, I'm fine with Mike Williams scoring 3 points tonight as long as Austin Eckler scores -7. Then it's fine. Then it's fine if Mike Williams only
Totally
scores
fine.
3. And we're cool with it. Coop, I believe you had some breakfast talk for us this morning, and we rudely cut you off with our Q-Bun conspiracy.
I think I kind of was the one that invited everyone to talk about. I invited everyone in the chat to talk about their breakfast, and then we ended up talking about cinnamon conspiracies. So that was partially my fault. But dude, for me, the big story in the NFL yesterday was the Nickelodeon Gamecast. Please tell me you guys watched the Nickelodeon version of the midday game.
I
We
did
had
not
it.
see
We
the
didn't have it
thing, but
on
I
yet.
saw pieces of it. Like I saw
Oh my
highlights and
God.
clips from the Nickelodeon cast.
It
Did you watch the whole
is-
thing?
Oh, I watched the entire thing. My family was loving it, dude. We were cracking out. Lonnie Coop, like the whole gang. Dude, there was one point where they had Patrick Starr come on to
I
call a
saw that.
play. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
And it was an interception, and it was so perfect. The way he was just like, no. And then he goes, that's not what Russ wanted to cook. I was
Yeah.
That's not what Russ wanted to
Right.
cook.
right. The actual announcers were probably kind of like Nate Burleson. I love Nate Burleson. He's awesome, by the way.
He's probably one of my favorite
He's one of my
announcers,
favorites right now.
just in general.
They were probably salty because it was like the perfect narrative play. You couldn't have drawn up a better narrative play than Russ Wilson throwing an interception to former teammate Bobby Wagner and it just so like there's a million directions you could go for as an announcer, and it's just so happened that was the play they gave to Patrick Star from SpongeBob.
And Patrick Starr is just out there roasting Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Just like no mercy from Patrick Starr.
It was great, dude. They show. I'm not even kidding. If any time the Nick cast is on, that's what I'm watching. Better than the Manning cast. It's the best one, dude.
I gotta watch it in full next time they
Oh,
do the slime vision.
Dude, they slime.
I saw them slime Tony Romo. That was fantastic. That was great to see.
There's slime, there's Yetis. Dude, at one point though, this one dude in the crowd got done dirty because they kept like, they would find videos of people in the crowd and they would just like edit slime into them. So people would have like slime coming out from under their hat.
Wait, that's not real slime?
Well, some people actually did get slimed, no question. But there'd be like slime coming out from under their hat. Dude, at one point this guy had his arms up and we was wearing like a wife beater, and he had his arms up cheering, and they edited it in slime coming out of his armpits, like pouring out of his armpits, and they showed it like 3 times. Like everybody else got these like cool edits, and this one dude just had armpits.
Got wrecked. Honestly, it's pretty sweet.
He also seemed like the guy that would love that. That would like later showing his boys like, the slime.
Look at that slime coming out of pits.
Right. They didn't. If they hit like a chick with that, she'd probably be pretty pissed. But this dude, like, if they armpit slimed me, I'd be so pumped. I'd be like, hell yeah.
I've always dreamed of.
Hell yeah, dude. Slime me up. But yeah, no, it was
Slime me
great,
up.
dude. It was great.
Frank the Tank said, I think I'm going to sneak through, but man, Aaron Jones and Miles Sanders didn't do me any favors. I'm nervous about Christian Watson for next week. Coop, are you nervous about Christian Watson going into next week? If he sneaks through to the championship, you got any confidence, any fire in starting Christian Watson?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you got to roll them. What stinks is that so Miles Sanders got the carries. He got the goal line carries. He just didn't punch it in. And I was surprised by the lack of targets for him with Minshew. You'd think that Minshew would be dumping the ball down more than Jalen Hurts, but not really. Only 1 catch this week. So I was pretty high on Miles Sanders, but game script didn't really work out for him.
It did not.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks, man. Last 2 weeks, not gone Miles Sanders' way. I think the touchdowns will return, but that's been the big difference.
Yeah. Well, the good news for Miles Sanders' manager is that the Eagles lost. And so there is a much higher probability that Jalen Hurts is playing next week than had the Eagles won this game. And that's what you want if you're a Miles Sanders manager. So Eagles, they're still in the playoffs. They'll likely still lock up this 1 seed, but now it's not guaranteed. Now it's not locked up. They need to get their starter back out there on the field, and hopefully this offense looks more like it did with Miles Sanders prior to these past 2 weeks.
It's a great point, son.
If you add Eagles and Cowboys players, this is the overall. I mean, obviously Miles Sanders didn't do great, but you wanted a shootout game where the Eagles lost, because had the Eagles won, they would have locked everything up. The 1st seed, the bye week, everything, the division. And then the Cowboys would have been in the weird spot where they have everything locked up, except they can't possibly win the division, right? They had the wild card locked up, all that stuff. So the next 2 games wouldn't have mattered. Now, next week does matter. The Cowboys still could technically steal the division and the 1 seed if they win out and the Eagles lose all their games. So
can you imagine? Can you imagine if they steal that 1 seed? That would be brutal for Eagles fans after the season they've had.
Especially these fan bases, because they hate each other. They hate each other.
Yo, and the best, I think it's got to go down, at least in the running for the best touchdown celebration of the year, Devonta Smith in this game. Like, oh
so
my
good.
God. I've watched it 100 times. The dude, for those of you that missed it, after he scores, the dude pulls down a ski mask, mimes kicking open a door, and then robs the Salvation Army bucket, just starts taking stuff out of there. And I think it was Quez Watkins that starts running away with the stuff. Like there was one other player who's running away with the things. I was dying, man.
You think he'll get fined?
I was like, put the bag over his shoulder. Yeah. I think
disrespect to the Cowboys in that moment. Just beautiful.
If the Cowboys players get fined for doing like nice things with the Salvation Army kettle, then the Eagles players are definitely gonna get fined for that. And the thing is, I guess the one criticism you could make is they could have been more like Grinch-like, kind of creeping around. Pulling the ski mask on was
awesome. That was awesome.
Kicking the door in.
They looked pretty bad. I think a big part of it is the visors. They looked so badass with the black visors, robbing the thing. So pretty cool, man. I had some people that were like, because I commented on that, and I was like, I thought that was like the best thing. And I had some people that were all in my mentions. They were like, what kind of message does this send to the children? I was like, dude,
stick up, kids.
Right? Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Like, my son was gonna go to Yale, but then he watched a football game, and now he's a criminal. Like, I don't think that's how it works, dude.
And give kids some credit to know that is a celebration,
Right.
acting, not real. Know what I mean? Kids aren't as dumb as you think they are.
My kid was watching South Park, and then that came on.
Right.
Now I'm concerned.
If you're gonna be like, if you want to be Devonta Smith, you got to work hard to be Devonta Smith. He won the high. He would, you know what I mean? He got recruited to the best school in college football for college football, and he, won the Heisman Trophy. Like, that's the opposite of being a criminal, dude.
You should look at your kid and be like, if you work your ass off, one day you too can rob the Salvation Army bucket on national television.
Exactly, dude.
But you have to work hard first, dude.
Gotta win the Heisman.
They want to be these kids want to be Devonta Smith. They're not looking at that and they're like, I should steal something.
We got Craig in the chat saying the NFL turned me to a life of crime, so it can happen. Hey, Craig, known lifetime criminal. He must have been in cahoots with the bank robber. I just still can't get over that story. I told it like 4 times over the holiday weekend. The Chiefs fan just robbing banks on the way to away games.
That is
wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, Craig said, I think Tyler Higbee took Coop's slander this week personally.
Yeah, looks like. Well, the thing about Tyler Higbee is that you couldn't, like, based on the trends for him, where he was blocking on 30% of his pass plays, and he was outside the top 90 in average depth of target. Like, that's not slander. Those are statistics. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, those are just actually what was happening.
Which is more offensive than slander, because you're not even have to do any of the creative work here.
It wasn't like those weren't insults. Those are just numbers, you know. Like, if they hurt your feelings, then there you go. I guess you go out and play differently, which he did.
It's called Coop the Ben Shapiro of tight ends.
That's right, dude.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Facts don't care about your feelings, Tyler. Plus, that guy. Yeah, that guy also, let's not forget he committed a racist hate crime. So we don't really have to. We don't really have to protect Tyler Higbee here. But yeah, he did go out and he caught some passes this week. So it's just you couldn't trust him. Maybe next week you can, though. Now that Ben Skronik and some of those guys are hurt, I'm interested to see. We don't have the stats yet, but I'm interested to see if he played more from the slot, if he changed up his usage, if he only blocked on a couple pass plays and got a ton of snaps in the slot. Then I'll be interested in Tyler Higbee maybe this week. So we'll have to take a look at that when it comes out.
Man, I wasn't expecting this Rams offensive performance as a whole. Not just Tyler Higbee, Cam Akers with 3 touchdowns as well. Baker Mayfield looking pretty damn good out there. Like,
MVP.
Who would have thought Baker Mayfield got benched because they were beating one of the best defenses in the league by so much? Like Baker Mayfield hits the bench, Bryce Perkins come on, and you would think if you just saw the headline Baker Mayfield benched in game against Broncos, you would not assume it was a positive, right? Like, you would assume negative, but here we are. On his second team, like 3rd game with the team, he's getting benched because they score 51 freaking points. Absurd.
Yeah, it's insane.
Did you guys? I saw someone in the chat. I think it was Albert asking how many of you started Cam Akers. Not I, and I told a lot of people not to. So my bad for anyone that didn't start Cam Akers. Again, it was one of the top defenses. That Broncos defense looked like a tough matchup, but they figured something out. They got rolling.
No, I think I just had one league. I only have Cam Akers in a single league, and I had more. I was gonna start. I'm not gonna start Cam Akers over Joe Mixon or DeAndre Swift. So,
I started him in one league, but it's like a deep dynasty league where you start like everybody. So it's not like I went out of my way to start him. I started him by default.
Yeah, nothing additional there.
Nothing additional. As Josh Jacobs, I don't know if you saw this, he said, I'm tired of dealing with this. Every day I come in here and bust my ass, and I see guys busting their ass, and the result is not there. For me, the last 4 years, the result has not been there. And quite frankly, I don't know what else to do.
Wow, that sounds like a guy that didn't get his 5th-year option picked up and probably won't be playing for the Raiders next year.
Probably. I'd be pretty annoyed too if I was
Yeah.
Last 4 years comment, that's the real thing, because it's like, I know He's not just blaming McDaniels. He's blaming the entire organization when he says last 4 years. He's going above the head coach when you say last 4 years. He's going right for Mr. Haircut there, Mr. Mark Davis.
Mr. Haircut, Mr. Bowl Cut, right
Mr. PF Chang's.
What does that even mean?
Oh, you never heard that, dude?
No.
So Mark Davis is like a mega PF Chang's fan, and like that's where he takes all his meetings. Like if anyone ever is like, yeah, we'll do dinner sometimes, he just immediately goes PF Chang's. Why don't we do breakfast? How about we meet at PF Chang's? Like apparently he takes all his meetings at PF Chang's. He's like the biggest fan. He's such a weird dude. Like
he's the weirdest dude.
The video I watched that had the PF Chang's in it, that wasn't even the weirdest part. The weirdest part is that his preferred mode of transportation is this like old, like at some point it must have been like a cool van, like like a new van, but it's just like old van that's like still fitted with VHSs, and he like watches stuff on VHS tape like in this van.
What a weirdo.
He's the weirdest dude. He's like your quintessential eccentric millionaire's son that inherited the team.
I haven't seen many of him walking around. Know what I mean? I feel like I've seen quite a few like millionaire sons. That man's one of a kind.
He is.
He's watching VHSs in the back of a van with his haircut cut straight across, eating his leftover PF Chang's.
1990. So here's an article that talks about it. The title of this article is Raiders owner drives a 1997 Dodge Caravan and dines daily at PF Chang's.
Daily.
We have a quote in here. Tony just said this over. Said this is from Davis. Said I've lost games before. Davis told the Athletics Victor 4. That's how I've learned to live my life. You lose on Sunday, you're pissed about it. I go to PF Chang's on Monday. I have lunch, and then I'm on to the next week.
PF Chang's, that's him right.
You can't reset till you got lunch at PF Chang's, and then you're good to go.
Just crying at PF Chang's over a loss, drinking an iced tea.
With his terrible haircut.
It's ridiculous, bro.
I see NKC rules in here. What's up, NKC? Welcome in.
What up?
Good morning.
Dude,
I encountered a PF Chang's for the first time ever at the airport yesterday. I don't think I've ever actually been into a PF Chang's, and I considered it. I went up the escalator to have a little snack, and then I turned around because there was nothing on the menu for less than $16 that looked like something I wanted to eat.
Yo, I'm sorry, but I gotta read this quote, dude. Most days start the same. Behind the wheel of his white 1997 Dodge Caravan SE outfitted with a bubble top Mark III conversion kit, a VHS player mounted to the roof inside, and an R8Hers personalized license plate. Mark Davis pilots this machine from his East Bay home to the nearest PF Chang's, where he sits at the left end of the bar, same spot every time, puts his white fanny pack on the counter, orders an iced tea, and unfolds the day's newspaper. Beside him on the bar, by the way, this article was written in 2015. Beside him on the bar, next to the papers, is his 2003 Nokia push-button phone with full texting capability. When someone calls and asks him where he is, he says, "I'm in my office," and sends a knowing nod to the bartender. It gets him every time.
That's the end of the quote. It gets him every time.
It's spoiler.
I'm in my office.
It does not get them every time.
No, yeah.
So the guy who wrote this article,
a little secret. This guy they want the money. They want this tip.
It's like when the server asks you how your food was and your plate's empty. Oh, terrible! And they give you the little pity laugh. Oh, yeah. So bad.
That's from an article by ESPN's Tim Keown. He went to spend the day with Mark Davis, and that's how the article starts. I can only imagine
he's riding in that caravan, just going, "Oh my god, I have the story of my life here."
Tapping his foot, dude, hoping it's not a dream.
Yeah, like pinching himself.
Oh my god, what a legend, Mark Davis. He's just, dude. The thing is, man, he's got the stones to just be himself, do whatever he wanted to do. Well, I respect that, you know.
I respect that too. Yeah, no, Mark Davis is a weird ass dude, but you know,
he's
good for him.
He's his weird ass.
He's living his best life.
Not everyone can be born to the family of a millionaire. So, great job, Mark.
Yeah, good job, man. You did it.
You did it. Yeah, it's all you.
There's a lot worse you could have done than eat at PF Chang's every day and have a funny haircut.
It's very true. And you know what? It's comical for us. So we thank you.
Exactly. I'm a fan.
We thank you.
NKC and you're saying Packers beat the Dolphins and Panthers beat the Lions. Yeah, there was some unexpected results this weekend. Football was a little Christmas wild, a little holiday wild this weekend. Maybe the weather got everyone all sorts of confused.
Maybe,
yeah, scrappy.
Speaking of Packers, Christian Watson went down with a hip injury during this game. Reportedly, he told his teammate, "I'm done." So
Christian Watson said that?
Christian Watson said that.
Oh,
so
no.
In the moment he said that, or like he said that after the game?
I think
I feel like that's
no.
an
I think during the
distinction.
game, it was Pam Oliver reported it. So it was. I think it was
Oh,
during
yeah.
the game.
You can see it. I actually there's a video where you can see, nah, I think I'm done. Wow, that's not good.
Not very good. So if you were relying on Christian Watson, probably gonna have to go a different direction, would be my guess.
That hurts.
Damn. You hate seeing these players
and-
like came out, showed up, and then getting injured at the end of the year.
Ryan Wood said that he caught up with, maybe he was just talking about being done for that game, though.
The game, yeah. It's true.
Ryan Wood caught up with Christian Watson as he was leaving the locker room. He told me hip was okay. I'll be all right, he said. Of course, tomorrow's a new day.
He was just quoting lyrics.
Interesting. Yeah. He said, don't go chasing waterfalls.
And it's
You're my
going to
Wonderwall.
be a long, long time before I'm back on that field again. I wish there was an NFL player that would just announce their injury status and song parodies every single time.
Who would be the one that would do that? And
That'd be
why
someone-
and why is it Jamal Williams?
Yeah, I was about to say Jamal Williams, damn it.
Yeah, it's definitely Jamal Williams. I can see Christian Wilkins doing it every time he gets a sack, going out there and doing it. He was a menace in that game to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers must have been so sick of that dude. Because he was smiling the whole time. Every pass he batted down, he was smiling in Aaron Rodgers' face. Pure, unadulterated joy.
True. I love Christian Wilkins.
Yeah.
Me too.
So from this weekend, if someone had some singing to do, Lel Collins would have a song to sing because unfortunately this is the tackle for the tackle for the Bengals that they got from the Cowboys to improve their blocking game. He unfortunately tore his ACL and MCL, so his season is over. Expected back for next season, they say, but yeah.
Who's this?
Lel Collins.
Oh,
the right tackle for the Bengals. So that's unfortunate, man. ACL and MCL, so he's done.
Bengals didn't have exactly the best depth at offensive line, so that's not fantastic.
No, that's terrible.
It's a decent hit. That's a decent hit for that team. I see NKC in here saying, I just think Tua's not in it anymore. I don't think the Dolphins will be in the divisional round and WB the Eagles. Yeah. Do you guys think the Dolphins make the playoffs at this point? They're not looking so hot recently. Tua hasn't been so hot. And then losing this game to the Packers, a team they're competing against for one of those wild card spots. Not great, Bob. Not great.
Yeah, I think they still make the playoffs. Trying to pull up their numbers on 538 here. 67% chance to still make the playoffs. I think it's still likely.
I was just looking at that.
I think it's still likely because 538 thinks it's still likely.
Right. Yeah. The Chargers are locked now all of a sudden. It's like, so who else is going to make it for wild cards? So you're going to have the Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals are already locked in. And then there's those guys are division winners, right? There's going to be one of the teams, the Titans, or who are they competing in the division?
I think
with?
the Ravens are locked in as well at this point.
Right, but they're not. They didn't win the division, so
Right.
they're locked in for a wild card. The Chargers are looking pretty good, right? If the Chargers win tonight, they're in, but they just have to win one of these 3 games and they're in. So that only leaves one wild card spot left. And I mean, the Dolphins are probably still the favorite to get that. It's, who else is going to take it? Patriots, Titans. I don't know.
No, it's probably Dolphins. They got a win on all those teams, right?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the 2 teams sitting right behind them, the Patriots and the Jets, sitting there at 7 and 8. Those are their next 2 matchups, right? Like they play the Patriots and the Jets. So
they have to win.
If the Dolphins lose a game, they're losing to a team that they're competing against for this wild card spot that's right there in the hunt with them. So they just got to win. They just got to win. Also, Mr. Scammer saying Jaguars, dude. Oh, yeah. We didn't say Jaguars because the assumption is the Jaguars are in. They're making it, baby.
No, well, that's the thing is that
Good morning, Mr.
the
Scampers.
Jaguars and Titans, there is a way for both of them to make the playoffs, the Jaguars and the Titans, but that would be like the Titans. If the Titans beat the Jaguars, then the Jaguars need a very specific set of circumstances to make it. I think that's why the Dolphins still have. Yeah, he needs to come in and clean house. It's the Dolphins have a. They would basically the Jaguars would need the Patriots to beat the Dolphins, and then the Patriots would need to lose to the Bills, and like a bunch of weird stuff would need to happen. I don't know. It's going to be tough for both those teams to make it.
Bill Belichick has to howl at the moon 3 times, and Adam Vinatieri has to flip a hamburger at precisely 2:42 p.m. And then the Jaguars and Titans can make the playoffs.
What day? Which day?
Only Vinatieri knows.
He knows. No.
Yeah.
Only he knows when to flip the burger.
Yeah, it's in his heart.
It's been there the whole time.
It's been there the whole time. Not today.
No. 2:42. I'm gonna remember that.
I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Then I realized I said that. You're talking about me.
Yeah, you, Simon. Scamper said, good morning. Good, beautiful morning to you all. Good morning.
What's up, Mr. Scampers?
Meow.
Meow. Also, Nick said, and the Steelers are there too. I guess technically
they are still there. Yeah.
And now that I've said that out loud, watch them sneak into the playoffs. But I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that Steelers team making it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Simon.
We'll see. Did you guys see Cameron Cox was reporting that J.J. Watt was tearing up coming off of the field this weekend, stopped before walking off and looked at the field. Speculation that it could be his last home game there. That no more home games for J.J. Watt. You guys buy it? You think he's out of there? Done on the Cardinals after this season?
It's possible. It's definitely possible. What's his contract situation look like?
I'm assuming done. Done.
Is he really that sentimental for the Cardinals? Like, how many games did he actually play for them?
That's what I'm wondering, if it's like a retirement thing, because he's been in the Cardinals, 3 years?
That's
like 20 games. Plus, I've been to a Cardinals game, and I just got to say, they were more like, it was a Cardinals at Rams game, and there were just as many Rams at Cardinals games in Arizona. There were just as many Rams fans as Cardinals fans there, and I wasn't the only guy there wearing a Patriots jersey. So let's just say the home crowd wasn't exactly overwhelming. You know,
you were at the game?
I went to the game. Yeah, when I was in Arizona earlier this year.
Oh, I thought you meant this weekend.
No, not this weekend.
And you're like, Coopin, those were not the Rams.
I was like,
the way that the Cardinals have been playing lately, I wouldn't be surprised if there were no Cardinals fans at the game. It was all just random people on vacation, like snowbirds, retirees.
Escaping the winter storm from Colorado, just coming on down and watching the Cardinals do whatever the Cardinals do.
That's pretty much how it goes at those games.
And Craig said, what do you think he does next?
He'll probably be a politician or something. Probably try to build a wall of shipping containers in Arizona.
Or maybe he'll host like a new cooking competition show on Netflix where you can get tackled at any time. So you always got to be on the lookout for someone trying to tackle you.
Dude. Would you do it?
Electric.
Would I play in the show?
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. No question. You're going to put me on Netflix with someone tackling me with JJ Watt? Like, I'm in.
Yeah,
you got to know. The thing is, like, it adds a whole new element to the game because the producers are looking for you to pick up certain foods before they send someone over to crush you, right? Like, I'm not cooking anything with eggs in it because the moment you pick up that carton of eggs, the producer's going to be like, "Yep, send them in." like you pick up like a bag of M&Ms. They're like, "Oh, yep."
Yeah, the second you open
dude, yeah, no flour. You go to cook something with flour. Poof.
Yeah, they're gonna tackle you straight with the packet of flour in between your chest, just hit you blindside.
Yeah.
Mr. Scamber said, "What wars?" Now we just got to figure out what the game show is about. It's a game show for electricians. The Watt Wars. It's a competition to find America's best electrician.
Sounds pretty
It's
dangerous.
terrible.
Hosted by
Sounds awful.
JJ Watt.
Would
We're gonna
never
have him
watch
do
that.
it. We're gonna have him do it blindfolded.
The
Oh,
great
I've actually,
that-
you know what?
It actually sounds like a pretty good show now. If you
Dude,
got them blindfolded, that kind of fixes it.
there are some of those, yeah. Until there's an arc flash, somebody gets popped. There are some, dude. There are some of those challenges that are amazing. I watched one. Have you guys ever seen the lumberjack games?
like the one where they like run on logs and they have to like pick up logs and stuff like that.
Yeah, dude, it is crazy, bro. There's one challenge where you get like this pole, like a telephone pole, and you have to you get an axe and boards, and you have to axe, and it's like wider than a telephone pole, and you have to axe notches into it and put the boards in it, and then you stand on that board and you axe it, and then you until you get to the top. So you're like
How many
creating.
boards are there?
There's a ton
At
of them, dude.
least 10.
Bro. Lumberjack games.
10 boards?
That sounds wild. That reminds me of when I was in college. There was some of the rock climbing club lived in the apartment building next to mine, and I lived in like this apartment building where there was like 3 buildings that kind of made a courtyard. And what they would do is they would set up a line from the porches, like from one building to another, and then hook themselves to that like a belay line. And then they'd get these milk crates. They had like 50 milk crates, and they would have a competition where you would put one down, you would climb on top of it, someone would hand you another one. You would stack it on there, you would climb on top of it, hand you another one. And they would just piece by piece build this milk crate tower one wide as they climbed up it, and would have a competition to see who could climb up the most milk crates. And they like, I would just sit on jail. It was you lived in that building. You lived on the 3rd floor. They might have tied it to your porch whenever they did it. And I would climb up these, or I would just watch them climb up these stacks and get like 20 high on like this like leaning tower of milk crates. And then they'd all come crashing down and fly into neighbors' yards. And it was the best. I never did it, but that's what that reminds me of.
That sounds horribly dangerous, dude.
Oh, I'm sure. It was a bunch of college kids tying things to porches and climbing milk crates.
Scampers, and also Keith is out today. But producer Tony saying that was prime ESPN2 show in summer during the 90s. And Scampers, I miss ESPN the Ocho. Lumberjack games are awesome. I can't believe you guys never saw the Lumberjack games. Fire. Chainsaw speed cutting. Yeah, dude. The giant 2-man saw where you have to cut like a redwood tree. Log running.
Is that the one on the water? Because that's the one I remember. Like where they're like running on the log on the water.
Oh yeah, that's a quintessential lumberjack game.
Tommy in the chat saying, I'm sure they were 100% sober during the milk crate climbing. Surely, without a doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind they were.
I saw somebody with a Tillman Place sticker in Baltimore randomly, Simon.
Was it our Tillman Place or a different Tillman Place?
It was ours. It's Clemson sticker and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't live there if you're listening.
It's terrible.
There's lots of mold.
Garbage.
It was so cheap, but lots and lots of mold.
Very,
it's
very
bad.
cheap.
It's bad for your health.
You could get crushed by a sophomore falling off a 2-story milk crate tower.
Right. You get crushed by falling sophomores at any time.
Falling sophomores.
That's the thing about doing stupid stuff like that is you have to keep in the back of your mind that like everyone's gonna ask you how you broke your arm. So when you're doing dumb
So might
stuff,
as well have a cool story.
yeah. Well, we were climbing milk crates, like, dude.
You guys ever broken a bone?
Nope.
A ton.
Knock on wood.
Coop's like, oh yeah, right
yeah.
now. Watch
like,
me do it again.
My whole body's just a bone cradle.
I got a I got a
Bone
big-
basket,
big
whatever you
scar on
said.
my left arm here. You see that?
Oh, nice.
bleh.
That was a good one.
Yeah, broke both the bones in my arm like pickup sticks. I broke my left arm a couple times.
Climbing milk crates.
Climbing milk crates, dude. Classic. Hey, actually, I broke him at the 2004 Lumberjack games.
You ain't played no lumberjack games.
I was the top of a.
Would you have won, Coop?
I was the top of a 30-year-old birch, and my chainsaw gave way. No, I probably would have not won. I'm terrified of that stuff.
Oh, just like obstacle courses
Just
or
doing
lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks.
doing
Lumberjack.
Oh,
doing
I'm
any-
a lumberjack, and that's okay. You know,
Doing
that's
any
fun.
kind of manual labor scares me.
Terrifies me.
We got Adam in here with a question for us. Wants to know: start Michael Pittman or Zach Moss in my flex today? Coop, where are you rolling here? Michael Pittman or Zach Moss?
My first question would be, are you winning or are you losing? And my second comment would be, start Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I'm going Michael Pittman as well here. What about you, John Luke?
Triple pit.
Because I had an interesting encounter with a Houston Texans fan yesterday. Driving back from the airport, my girlfriend's dad picked me up from the airport and his girlfriend, and we're in the car and we have to stop to get gas. And I go into the gas station, and this guy, I kind of got in his way and I apologized, but he was super nice. He was like, "Don't worry about it. No worries, man." We go out. He comes back up to us and he asks if we can jump his car. Like, of course, no problem. We roll up there and we're all just kind of standing there, and it's a little uncomfortable. It's kind of quiet. He's got his Texans hoodie on though. And I was like, "Hey, how about that Texans win?" And he looks at me in the eyes. He goes, "I was sent here to save the galaxy. I was wondering if you could help me." And I was just like, "How about that Texans win?" Like I just said it again. And then he was like, "Have you seen the galaxy?" And I was like, "Is there something in the galaxy?" And then he got weird. He was like, "No, there's nothing in the galaxy." And then he asked us, he asked again, I was sent here to save the galaxy. I was wondering if you guys could help me. And at that point I was just like, I'm
I got somewhere to be.
We're jumping your car. Hopefully that's a good head start to saving the galaxy. That sounds like a massive task. I'm so sorry, but I just don't have time to help you today.
That sounds like some Men in Black stuff, He's on Orion's
What if one day you find out that was real?
It might be. He had me convinced.
That's
he wasn't being weird or anything. That just came out of nowhere.
Save the galaxy. Will you help me?
And then you get to
I'm going to need more details, my guy. I'm going to need a few more details than just I'm here to save the galaxy.
Then you get to then you get to his car and it's running, and you're like, "It's running," and he's like, "Yeah, jump it." and you're like, "Okay." we need to save the galaxy. Get on over there.
Get on the other side. The galaxy's on the other side of the span.
Jump it. Tommy in the chat saying, I would have 100% said, "What do you need?" And Mr. Scamper said, "Simon isn't a yes man, apparently." Yeah, I did not learn from Jim Carrey in Yes Man. Maybe I should have taken a lesson from him.
I'm putting that dad joke in my back pocket to use for the rest of my life, especially when I am like a dad, and then someone's like, "Can you jump my car?" I'd be like, "I don't know."
You do the whole.
I left to get my other sneakers.
To get my other New Balances.
Maybe in my football playing days.
Yeah. Like, seriously though, old man, I'm late for work.
Shut up.
We shut up.
Ernie in here saying maybe he meant the Galaxy soccer team.
I've been sent here to save the Galaxy soccer team.
Equally.
Will you help me?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Threw me for surprise. So that's I don't have many interactions with Texans fans. So now that is a prominent piece of my opinion on Texans fans, is that interaction at the gas station in Houston. So I'm just assuming Texans fans, they've got a mission, and it's to save the galaxy. And that guy, he must be leading the charge.
Well, he must have got it done, because we're still here.
We're still here. Yeah. Props to him. Thank you.
Mission accomplished.
We got Tark in the chat. What's up? Good morning. Said started week projected to win by 20. Had Tua, Diggs, and Hopkins. Now down 40 with Eckler left on my birthday today.
Of all days.
But he said this would be the ultimate gift to the championship. You're going to need a big game from Eckler, but man, would that be exciting.
That would ruin Simon's day.
You know what? But if he scores more than 15 points, I hope he scores 40. So until he hits that 15-point threshold, I'm rooting against you because I need him not to do well today. But for your birthday, if he hits that 15-point threshold, I'm just cheering for him, man.
And Tark, I'll tell you this, dude. You could have got somebody like Miles Sanders or somebody like Josh Jacobs who's come out and said, "Hey, guess what? I don't care about your fantasy team. I don't care about your bets." You got the one man who does care. Austin Eckler cares about your fantasy team. He likes fantasy football. Nobody would be more proud to help you win than Austin Eckler. So at least you got the right man for the job, right?
It's true. Austin Eckler's a good dude.
And
so are the other dudes who don't like fantasy either. It's not.
I don't know. Something off about those boys. But I will say, of all the people, like if I was in full PPR, if I was going to pick somebody to try and get me 40 points, Eckler would be pretty high on the list. There's only so many guys capable of games like that.
Non-quarterbacks, right? Yeah, that you're looking at over here.
With quarterbacks, yeah, of course. But yeah,
Austin Eckler, who else would you put on that list?
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
You need reception. You need 10 receptions over 100 easily. You need 10 receptions over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like that's the start, right? Like that's 18 point. That's 38 points right there, right? 10, 10, 18. That's math, right? So 10, 10, 18, that's 38 points. So then you just need, it's manageable. 40 points in full PPR is not, it doesn't sound that bad when you put it that way. 10 catches for 100 yards and 3 TDs. It's in the range of outcomes for Austin Eckler.
It sounds like a lot, but it doesn't sound insane.
Yeah. Who else would you guys put in that category of like you wouldn't be surprised?
Christian McCaffrey. You got to put Christian McCaffrey in there. He can do it.
Alvin Kamara. Right, he's done it before.
There's only one tight end. Only one tight end for the job, really. Evan Ingram.
Dallas Goedert. Sorry.
Freaking Ingram.
Darnell Mooney, if he was healthy, probably could hit that.
Yeah, if Darnell Mooney wasn't on the IR, man.
Darnell Mooney again, probably.
Jamar Chase.
What does that game look like for Darnell Mooney the way he was playing this year? Like 20 targets, six receptions on 20 targets, and for 100 yards.
Yeah, maybe 30 targets. And
he might need 30 targets.
Yeah, it might take 30 targets to get there. But Justin Fields has picked it up a bit, even as a passer, not just in the running game since Darnell Mooney went down. Justin Fields has upped his game. So maybe Darnell Mooney would be doing a little better with the current iteration of Justin Fields out there.
Hey, Jail, it's December, and Simon's already trying to convince himself how to move Mooney up his ranking.
I'm back in, baby.
I'm telling you, by the time we hit August, it's going to be wheels up.
He's already dropping
the worst thing that could have happened Justin for Fields. Me as an analyst is Darnell Mooney getting injured and going on the IR because I didn't get a full season of evidence, right? So now I've got a reasonable out into saying it was due to injury and bad play at the beginning.
He gave you hope.
Reasonable, Simon.
Don't give me hope.
Simon. Wide receiver two. Wide receiver two. Wide receiver two. Probably.
Wide receiver two.
Wide receiver two. That's where I'm going.
Wide receiver two.
Coop, you brought up Justin Jefferson, and I saw a tweet from Adam Levitan yesterday pointing out that Jefferson needs just 209 yards over these final 2 games to beat Calvin Johnson's record for the most receiving yards in a single season. So 209 yards, that is well within the range of outcomes for Justin Jefferson over 2 games.
I mean, it's the way Justin Jefferson's been playing. He just needs to have 2 down games. And he'll get 209 yards, Like he had a game earlier this year.
He had 101.
Yeah. I mean, 3 weeks ago, he had 223 yards against the Lions.
Yeah, so he could just get it in 1 game.
He could. He's that good. He's the 101 next year, right?
He's my 101 next year. Him or Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Just for that positional advantage. But I think I'll end up going Justin Jefferson because I can't justify taking a tight end that early.
Right.
But Justin Jefferson is my 101.
In
over all the
redraft?
backs. Yeah. And in Dynasty. I think if a wide receiver is your 101 in redraft, he's probably your 101 across all formats.
Yep.
Is this in relation to Adam's question? Because Adam just asked a similar question here.
Who do y'all think will go top 3 in next year's fantasy drafts?
Probably
Justin Jefferson, probably.
Do you guys think Jonathan Taylor is still on that list?
Not in full PPR. I had him ranked 3rd this year in full PPR. After I had McCaffrey 1, Eckler 2, Jonathan Taylor 3 in full PPR.
Eckler could be up there, and I don't know if
McCaffrey's the number 1 RB this year, and he's the best running back in the league.
I mean, if we look at the top 3 scoring flex players in PPR right now, we've named 2 of the 3, Justin Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey. But Christian McCaffrey's 3. Do you guys know who number 2 is? It's another wide receiver.
At the flex?
Yeah. So out of all flex players, the top scoring PPR flex players, it goes Justin Jefferson 1, ? Christian McCaffrey 3. Who's number 2? It's not Stephon Diggs.
Tyreek Hill?
It's Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's the number 2 scoring flex player. And it's still Tyreek Hill.
AJ Brown.
And now it's AJ Brown. It's Tyreek Hill.
You got it.
Rats.
I knew Tyreek Hill was having a great season, but I didn't realize better than Christian McCaffrey great season.
Pro Bowl caliber, all pro Tyreek Hill season.
Mr. Scamper said JL, and then Mr. Scamper said Zay Jones. It's got to be Zay Jones.
He's laughing at the poll that I put in the chat here. True or false? Simon should have helped the Texans fans save the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Chat with us,
100% true. I at least should have gotten more information.
Yeah, for real. More
I-
detail.
I
Was
was
Leanne there standing
I was
there with you?
chuckling.
No, it was just me, Leanne's dad, and Leanne's dad's girlfriend, and we were standing there.
So
with
there
this
were
guy.
witnesses.
Except Leanne's dad didn't hear the galaxy part. All of a sudden, he just jumps in, and then the guy asked us for a place to stay. And so in his mind, all this guy asked us was for a place to stay, and I was like, no, he needed a place to stay to save the galaxy. Okay, like it wasn't just a bed. He needed headquarters, is what I'm thinking. Like he needed like Space Force headquarters to save the galaxy.
It feels like the very first time that Captain Marvel, where they fly into Earth and they like land in like a blockbuster. Then Samuel L. Jackson shows up. It feels like you should have just sat there and waited for Samuel L. Jackson to show up. If he had shown up, you would have known as legit.
You're right. You're right. I should have just sat there and waited. Instead, I just like bought a Gatorade and left.
Yeah. Negligent.
Lemon lime, even.
Lemon lime. Oh.
Like, what's wrong with me?
You should have just
Not
got
even
the
blue.
Yeah, you should have got the best flavor, blue.
Of course. Which blue, though?
That's a controversy.
That's
Light blue?
That's the whole kit and caboodle. What does that even mean? I've just heard people say that. What does that even mean?
A kit and a caboodle.
Yeah.
Well, let's break it down. A kit is a name for some kind of baby animal that I'm not sure.
Is that what that means?
The kit is what you use to
First
jump
aid
your
kit?
the kit is what you use to jump your car, and then the caboodle is a weapon that you need to save the galaxy.
Oh, okay. I see.
So you got to have the whole.
That actually
means
He didn't have the kit or the caboodle, or maybe he had the caboodle but not the kit.
You were just empty-handed.
when I type in kit and caboodle, all that comes up is cat food. So
There's a chance I just made that up.
it's real. A caboodle is an archaic term meaning a group or collection, usually of people. And a kit is this.
I don't like that usually.
Is a set of objects, as in a toolkit or what a soldier would put in his kit bag. So you got the kit and the caboodle. I'm guessing it comes from like military, like you got your supplies and your troops. Let's hit the road.
Oh, grab your kit and caboodle.
Man, at attention, kit and caboodles on. Some badass.
some dying
caboodle.
soldier. Some dying soldier's like,
Hand me my
here,
caboodle.
take my caboodle. Give it my life.
Someone's like, he's dying. We need a caboodle over here.
Caboodle.
Albert said, was this at a Buc-ee's, Simon? No, but it should have been. That's a Buc-ee's level interaction, but it was not at a Buc-ee's. And Mrs. Gamer said,
level interaction.
A kit is a baby fox. A kit is indeed a baby fox.
It's a kid.
I just Googled it. It's a what?
A kid.
No, that's a baby goat.
Oh, wow. I'm all sorts of messed up.
Caboodle might be the funniest word.
Caboodle, the number one
Ever?
funniest word.
It's up there. It's way
It's
up.
got to
there.
be up
I
there.
like
for sure.
balderdash. I think balderdash is a.
That's
I
a
don't
good
like how
funny
you
word.
say it.
That's a good nonsense word.
Balderdash.
Balderdash. You got to emphasize the ball and the dash. The der just is there in the middle. It's balderdash.
Durr.
Then it runs a little better.
It is a baby fox.
Excuse me.
Though.
We have determined.
Just let's confirm it one more time right
Just
there.
checking one more time to be safe.
I did want to ask you. So the Broncos loss was humiliating. The Rams with Baker Mayfield there for only 3 weeks pulled that victory out. Russell Wilson with a QBR of under 4. It was like 3.8 or something. Is Nathaniel Hackett getting fired?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I mean, this is just a historic whiff. Like, I don't think that Russell Wilson is not talented, but the combination of Russell Wilson coming into the system that he's not familiar with and Nathaniel Hackett being so green, I think has just been a recipe for disaster.
Green figuratively or literally?
Figuratively.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say
Yeah.
I've missed that, but
Nothing to do with slime zone.
nothing
I
to do
think
with
you, I
slime
think
zone.
you give him. I think you got to give him one more try here, but yeah, I don't know.
Like week 17 or one more season.
I think one more season together because I mean it's such a short sample, such a small sample size of season of games. I
But
don't
like,
know.
what has Nathaniel Hackett shown you that you're like, yeah, this is worth another season?
Have you
Right,
seen
like-
have you seen a grain of hope? Have you seen
They had a
anything?
lot of injuries over there. You know, no Javonte Williams. How many games have they played that where Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy were playing? They lost KJ Hamler. You know,
Kendall Hinton.
Kendall Hinton. They lost Tim
Greg
Patrick.
Dulcich missed the first couple weeks of the season.
Tim Patrick before the season even started. Like they've had some, they ended up trading away Bradley Chubb because they were losing. Like I don't know. I think you maybe got to give him one more chance and then fire him mid-season next year.
I mean,
but
if
tough,
the Panthers can average more points per game than the Broncos can, know what I mean? And the Broncos defense is doing them favors that the Panthers defense isn't. It's rough, man. Like the Broncos are dead last in the league at 15.5 points per game. Like the Texans don't have a killer offense. They're averaging 16.9 points per game. I've seen nothing. I'd be totally fine if they let him go. Sucks for him. Wish him the best going forward. But man, I think they'd be justified in firing him after 1 year. But I'm usually with you, Coop. Usually I'm like, give him another chance. I've seen nothing, absolutely nothing from this team to give me any hope that he'll turn it around.
Yeah, I feel like head coaching position is like easier to not like. You don't need a developmental head coach, like that's what Hackett feels like to me. It's like, yeah, he could be great, but like he's passed off most of a lot of the responsibilities that he needs to do as head coach. Not all of them, but like I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I would want to see more from him for sure.
I mean, here saying I was going to wait and say this for later, but Coop, it is time to eat that tomato. Is it official?
Locked in? I think. I mean. I think the Raiders beat the Broncos in both games. Yeah, I think they're probably locked into last place in the division. So I'll have to procure a tomato. Is that the tiebreaker, Tommy? Did we decide that would be a tiebreaker?
The head-to-head.
If they finish with the same record, that the bet. Well, I'm gonna have to go back and double check the verbiage of the bet, but I think it's as close to being locked in as possible. Last in the division.
If that wasn't established as a tiebreaker beforehand, My thought on it would be
I don't remember.
It's not a tiebreaker that you can apply after the fact. It would be a push if both teams end up with the same record. But I'm also not involved in any way.
Well, so. I'll check it out. But I think it was who finished better, right? Who finished better, and I think at this point the Broncos can't finish better than the Raiders. So I think that's it's pretty locked in. We'll get that tomato going.
Oh, it's gonna be a juicy mater.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
we need solo layout somehow.
We'll figure it out. So. Yeah,
Simon and I would just leave.
Yeah, we just won't be on. It'll just Coop to start the show. It'll just be him. The whole song's going to play. Then he's not going to say anything, and it's just going to be him holding a tomato.
Just no music. Just
sad music.
I'll have to get 2 tomatoes so I can take a bite of one and make sure I can handle it. That shouldn't be a problem. Hey, Kate, can you give me 2 tomatoes, please?
I'm just imagining you trying to take a bite out of both. Just single fisting it.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. That's gonna be good.
Everyone, coming up, we've got our segment Dear Diarrhea, where we share with you the lessons we have learned throughout this season. We're gonna make some Monday Night Football predictions, and then there's a Week 16 recap running through the games that happened over this weekend, telling you what happened, answering your questions about them as well. Right now, you're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
AutoZone.
Get in the game.
Auto game.
Oh, maybe not. We had a question in here from Adam.
Sponsored by tomatoes.com.
Adam said, what do y'all think will happen with 49ers QB room next year? Did Purdy steal Trey Lance's job? Coop, do you think they're going to steal the job? You think Purdy's got this locked up?
I mean, I think what he has earned? He's earned himself a competition. Why does the decision need to be made now? The decision, I think, will be made in camp. You have an entire offseason to have these guys throwing a ton of passes, a ton of passes every single day. Like, again, NFL games in reality are such a small sample size. You only play 60 to sometimes 70 offensive plays, whereas in practice, you can play hundreds every single day. So, the reality is what happens in these games isn't indicative of how the feelings on these players. So we get a whole offseason where these guys get to go head to head. I think he's earned enough that he deserves a chance to compete. That's where they're at.
I think the only way I would say fairly confidently that I thought Brock Purdy had stolen the job is if he leads them to a Super Bowl. Know what I mean? Like if Brock Purdy is the reason they win a Super Bowl, then how the hell do they bench him? Know what I mean? Like how the hell do they get Trey Lance back in there?
I mean, what do they do with Trey Lance at that point? I agree with you, Simon. I think that's the only scenario in which I'm even entertaining that there's going to be a conversation.
Because otherwise, it's your first round pick that you traded the future of your franchise for. You know what I mean? Like they get him in.
You haven't seen really enough.
Exactly.
Jimmy Garoppolo led them to a Super Bowl, and then they still drafted a quarterback. So,
right.
But he lost. Loser.
Yeah, 100%.
Big old loser.
But they also didn't like completely mortgage their future for Jimmy Garoppolo, right? I mean, they made
That's
a decent sized trade for him.
A second round pick.
Yeah. This was a top 5 pick for Trey Lance out there. I just can't imagine. It has to be a Super Bowl for them to give Brock Purdy the kind of just like, okay, it's yours. You got it.
And even then, I think it's a conversation that will be had. I don't even know if that's what they're going to go with. But you're right. That at that point, it becomes a conversation.
Think we get a Brock Purdy?
I think they would maybe trade him. Would be like the more likely outcome there.
Yeah, there's probably some trade value around a first round pick, quarterback.
Trade.
Or would they trade Brock Purdy?
No one's.
That's what I meant.
No one's trading for Brock Purdy, dude.
They'll trade for Trey Lance.
The team is trading for a quarterback that's playing on the best team. Like the rest of the team is amazing. Is such a dangerous game that we've seen so many times. That's
I'm with you.
That's like
I'm
Brock,
with you. I think people are stupid enough to do it though.
This is stupid trade for Brock part 2 because we already saw Brock Osweiler when he went to the Super Bowl with the Broncos, and then Peyton Manning stepped in at the last minute to be like, I'll win the Super Bowl. Why don't you take a backseat? Thanks for driving the bus too. You know what I mean? Thanks for getting us here. I'll just step in and win this last game. But then somebody traded for Brock Osweiler. We've seen this game before, and guess what? We can say it. We can laugh about it now. But a lot of people thought Brock Osweiler was a good quarterback then, right? So
yeah,
could happen again. This is probably Brock Osweiler part 2.
Adam said Trey Lance to the Jets. Trey Lance to the Jets. Could you see that happening, Coop? No.
That would be crazy, bro. If they draft Zach Wilson and over Trey Lance and then trade for Trey Lance.
That would be crazy.
That would be
what
wild.
Do they trade? Zach Wilson? Just straight up for Trey Lance. That would be the stupidest trade for everybody involved. Yeah. Every single person would be upset at the results of that trade, I feel like.
Yeah, no chance.
And Tommy said Trey 1, Brock 2, Jimmy G to the Pats. Coop, as a Pats fan, you got boots on the ground. You think that's a possibility?
No. I think like again, the Patriots, they if you trade a guy like that away, you're going to trade back for him. You already decided that he wasn't the guy. So I don't know. I don't think it fits.
John Luke, you see him going back to the Jets or to the Patriots?
The Patriots, no. To the Jets, no.
He
would
do well in that New York market, handsome fella.
Right? Handsome fella would do well.
We were talking about him this weekend at Christmas, sitting around, and I was reminiscing about his first game starting for the 49ers. I got to go back and watch that broadcast, find it, make a compilation, because the announcers could not shut up about how handsome he was, like the entire game. Like it was like the first time he'd been featured on a broadcast since he was the starter. And every time they cut to him on the sideline, no matter what was going on in the game, they would stop and be like, man, he's so handsome. Looks like a model out there on the sideline. Like, God, he's so handsome. Jimmy GQ. Like, just the entire game, they would not shut up about how handsome he was. They were awestruck. They like couldn't believe it. It was hilarious. Yeah.
That just reminded me, Simon, that the whole entire time we were watching the Broncos game yesterday, I just kept thinking about our holiday, the gift we got Russell Wilson for the holidays.
What did we get him?
We got him just a stadium full of like 30,000 people. For like an hour.
And they just had
all the naughty boys, all the people on the naughty list had to sit there so he could just go, Mr. Unlimited, let's ride. Just say all of his catchphrases for an hour.
He could use that right now.
I just couldn't stop thinking about it the whole time.
But didn't he, after his press conference last week, just end it with like a subtle, like, go Broncos? Like,
and I'm rooting for the Broncos.
We've beaten the less ride out of Russell Wilson this year. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Guys, coming up, we got some Dear Diarrhea, where we tell you some lessons we've learned, some entries into our diary from this NFL season. Then we're going to make some predictions for Monday Night Football and recap Week 16's games. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
My holiday wish list is for Travis Etienne to finish as the RB1 rest of season.
That injury's got to be nothing, and Josh Jacobs needs to be a top 3 running back down the stretch.
I need the Broncos to finish with a better record than the Raiders. Otherwise, I need to eat a tomato live on camera like it's an apple.
I want to win my home league. I've only won it once over the last, whatever it is, 6 or 7 years, and these are all of my buddies from high school and college, and they love to harass me when they beat me. Ooh, fantasy expert, you can't win our league.
For this holiday season, I'd like to be in the winning margin. I'd like to be on the winning side of side totals and props. I think that's really why we're in the business.
So Jamar Chase is coming back from the hip issue. Let's hope he performs like that wide receiver 1 and leads me to the championship. I need you, Jamar. Come on, let's go.
I am the sucker that still owns Russell Wilson in a 2 QB league. Here's all I ask. And it's like a lot of Christmas wishes. It's kind of a long shot. You don't expect it. It wouldn't be something you wake up and say it's going to happen. But Russell Wilson, I only need like 80% of your career norm.
I need the Falcons to run the table so I can win my Arthur Smith as Coach of the Year bet, which is not looking amazing right now, but you never know.
Dallas Cowboy World Championship future cashes in 2023.
ETN is a guy that I really need to thrive here in the fantasy playoffs to win a couple of championships.
Need Zonovan Knight, even if Michael Carter's there, to be the beast running back that he can be for the remainder of the year for me to have any shot at winning a title this year.
I need Najee Harris to get healthy. I'm over-invested in Najee Harris.
As excited I am about my fantasy team, I'm even more excited about the Dallas Cowboys right now.
I need Rachaad White to keep doing what he's doing and keep Leonard Fournette on the bench.
I hope it's Mahomes and Kelsey getting all the targets there. That's my wish.
Please allow me to win at least one of those big money leagues.
Well, my holiday wish is for Lamar Jackson to get healthy. I'm in first place in one of my fantasy leagues, and he's my quarterback. So without him, I could be in trouble.
I have a lot invested in the Philadelphia Eagles. I just need them not to rest my fantasy players week 17.
Yeah, my number one wish for fantasy football this year is that Ramondre Stevenson keeps being a dog out there.
Big money league I have that I absolutely want to win, so I need my guy CeeDee Lamb, and I'm a Niner fan.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. I see Tark in the chat saying Lance to the Texans as an option if they did roll with Mr. Brock Purdy. If Lance moves to a new team, I'm going to be shocked for next year. We'll put it that way, but Lance on the Texans would be fun. I'd rather see him on the 49ers.
It would be fun. JL, you're back. I know you mentioned something. You had to go jump a car and save the galaxy.
Yeah, I did. I had to do what Simon couldn't do.
Dad, step up. You're live.
Last time,
as you can tell, you're live from Houston.
Yeah, clearly.
Last time I jumped, I tore my LCL and partially tore my meniscus. So I don't jump very much anymore. I was in a brace for 8 weeks, just miserable. And that was the last time I jumped.
I'm gonna make
man, it was one of those moments where, like, in the air, like as I was, it was at paintball. And I see one of these giant spools in the middle, and like you're supposed to run behind, but like in my mind, I was like, I'm catapulting it. Like I'm launching myself off of it, and I'm going to look badass. I've got the paintball gun in one hand, and I sprint ahead of everyone, and I launch myself with my hand over it, and I'm in the air long enough to think, oh no. Like in my mind, I was like, this is not okay. No, and then I hit the ground and I couldn't stand up. I'm like dragging myself off the paintball field because my leg doesn't work anymore. And then Lane's like, are you okay? And then by the time we get home, my leg is just like, my knee is so swollen. I like can't get it out of my pants. Spoiler alert. I was not okay. I was not okay that day.
Tommy in the chat said Carr to the Patriots. Coop, would you want him? To be honest, I would want Carr. Sick. I'd want Jimmy G. Like the difference is that the the Raiders don't really have an offensive line. The Patriots do. The Patriots have a solid defense, great special teams, good offensive line, good running back. I mean, they could use some pass catchers, but the quarterback seems to be the problem right now. Mac Jones has looked bad. The play calling also is awful. We have to get rid of Matt Patricia. But if they got we could somehow take the Raiders and the Patriots, Tommy, and just take the best players from each team, you could build a great team. Like if you could just have Belichick with McDaniels calling the plays and Derek Carr at quarterback, like you could have, I guess you could pretty much take any two NFL teams and make a monster team out of them. But it's like the things that the Raiders are missing are what the Patriots have. A secondary.
I think Derek Carr on the Patriots would be sick. I think he gets a bad rap for being a bad quarterback, but the dude is an above average NFL quarterback, has had MVP level seasons in the past. That'd be pretty sick. It'd be better than Mac Jones.
How often do you think Mark Davis makes Derek Carr go eat P.F. Chang's with him?
Dude,
once a month.
Every day.
Every single day.
Yeah. He
says, breakfast, Derek.
Probably says R-O, your D, and the Patriots line, because the Raiders line is terrible too. So the Patriots offensive line, like if the skill players from the Raiders with the grunts from the Patriots, Mac Jones,
you'd be good to go. Guys, it is time for our next segment called Dear Diarrhea. This is where we take lessons we have learned from this season, put them into our diary, and for everyone, not just us to learn from, but hopefully we learn from them as well. I'll kick us off today, if you guys don't mind. I've got one. Please. And it's a little near and dear to this past weekend, but I'm going to apply it more broadly. Plan ahead on your fantasy teams ahead of holiday weekends or just busy weekends. If you've got a wedding you're going to on a Saturday night, don't just think, oh, I'll set my lineups after the wedding. Oh, I'll wake up early Sunday and do it. If you've got a holiday weekend where you're going to wake up early, you're going to go visit family, you're going to be on flights, you're going to be running around, don't think, oh, I'll do it at the airport while I'm waiting. Because you know what's going to happen? You're going to get sucked into a YouTube video. The line at the Cinnabon is going to be a little bit too long. You're going to get stuck in security. You
have to go save the galaxy.
You have to go save the galaxy. Your aunt's going to wake you up early.
QAnon's going to put a bag over your head. and
exactly. You get kidnapped by QAnon. And all of a sudden you can't set your lineups. Plan ahead. Do some grunt work on like Wednesday, Thursday. That way, at the very least, you've got your baseline lineup set. No players on bye, no injured players in the middle of the week. Get those questionable guys. Anybody that may not play on Sunday, even if they would be your preferred starter, go ahead and put them on your bench and force yourself to make that move last minute if you are going to make that move. Because you can find yourself in a sticky situation where there's 2 minutes to kick off. You forgot about it because there was a million things going on. And all of a sudden you are panicked trying to refresh Sleeper to get to all your leagues in time. Plan ahead.
Or whatever platform you use.
Like if, for instance, you do a live show from 11 a.m. right to 1 o'clock.
Right. Hypothetically, if you have a live show that leads right into kickoff the 2 hours before, plan ahead.
Yeah, like, hypothetically, if you're in a guillotine league and you have a show that's 2 hours right before kickoff and you leave Kyler Murray in your lineup and then you get guillotined, you get chopped. Yeah. You don't want that to happen.
So you got to be real careful, especially in a hypothetical situation like that.
Yeah.
Or, if you're smart, then you just, instead you do a show from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and then you have 2 hours.
And then you got to wake up.
Then you have 2 hours after, then you have to wake up. But then you have 2 hours after your show to set your lineups, and you can pop into the show after yours, make them do silly voices and stuff.
It's true.
Okay. Imagine you guys doing that to our show, popping in and telling John and Pemba he needs to be a pirate. It's not. I'll tell you right now. If you've been thinking of doing that, it's not going to happen.
Coop just jumps in Sunday mid us asking questions or answering questions. We're like 30 questions deep. And what do you think is going to happen? And you must answer in the voice of Batman and his butler, Alfred. And Joey and I just...
You guys crushed that one. You guys did crush that one, I will say.
We got you. I think it was the best impression I've been a part of on this show.
You guys crushed that.
Not that it was good. That's a low bar. It's a low threshold. You've heard my Chewbacca, but we crossed it.
Joey had a very good pirate. Steven Johnson, if you're watching out there, you owe me a pirate voice. Don't think that I forgot that you skipped on that one. So
I'm not sure the world's ready for a Steven Johnson pirate. The baritone in that voice. Yeah. That's going to be a manly pirate.
That's going to be a mean pirate. That's going to be a bad pirate.
That's my lesson. What's up, Joe?
69 in here says Tua threw it right to a Green Bay Packers.
Hey. Oopsies. That was you know what? Tua jokes, most of them have been done. That one's pretty all right. GTO. You pulled that one off. But that's my Dear Diarrhea entry. Dear Diarrhea.
That's a
plan
good one,
ahead
Simon.
when you have a busy weekend, because you don't want to be the guy scrambling at the last second, especially in these like very important end of the season weeks.
That's a very good one, Simon. I'll follow up yours with one that is near and dear to my heart. Players who are moving teams, changing teams, they have a new team. It doesn't always go the way that we want. Those new team narratives, it's not always a positive thing. Look at Allen Robinson. That is a scary story of warning there.
Tisk.
Tisk. And there's a lot of examples, both on the positive side, you got Stephon Diggs, right? And on the negative side. So try not to buy too heavily into those narratives about a player changing team.
Right. And
that's my entry.
Yeah. And a lot of it is that like, you have to have more than just, oh, it's a fresh start for the guy. Right. Like at least with Diggs, you could be like, oh, he's going to play with Josh Allen, which, you had that part of it going for you. Right. Like, but even think about like Evan Ingram going from Daniel Jones to Trevor Lawrence. It took him a while to get to where he is now, to get that trust. So, it's a new playbook a lot of times. There's a lot of variables, a lot of moving parts. Don't fall for it just because he's changing teams. It has to be somebody like DeAndre Hopkins, where you're like, yeah, of course he's gonna be good no matter where he goes. You know what I mean? Like these guys are already good.
But even then,
Tyreek Hill.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. You're right, but the probability is much more likely in that case. And I think what a lot of people want to do is they want to look at these players, evaluate these players as if you can plug and play them, right? Or like you take one little piece of the system out and you add one back in, and everything else is going to work the same. Yeah. And people don't work like that, right? There's way too many dynamics going on.
What I'm finding a lot of times, honestly, in the modern NFL is that you can maneuver the salary cap in enough ways. Plus, you have enough control over who you keep and who you don't, that it's honestly not that often that really good players make it to free agency. At least position players. Like every once in a while, you get a Teron Armstead where the Saints just could not possibly afford to keep him. That's how he ends up going to a team like the Dolphins. But I mean, most times you just find a way to keep your guys. So it's not too often that you have these like mega free agents that go and make a difference. Diggs was traded. AJ Brown was traded. DeAndre Hopkins was traded. Christian McCaffrey was traded. Tyreek Hill was traded. These are not free agent acquisitions the way Allen Robinson was a free agent acquisition. So maybe that's where you got to be a little more careful. Is like, why didn't the team that had this guy find a way to keep him? Right. So
that's a good point.
Jill, I feel like this is a good one to remember going into next year, because I feel like we're going to see a lot of that middle level of wide receiver switching teams. Not so much of that top tier, but the Allen Lazard level of player is the kind of wide receiver that we're going to see switching teams all over the place next year. The Juju Smith-Schuster, the Allen Lazards. I'm blanking on some more of these free agent wide receivers, but they're in that tier.
Take a second to take a peek. So, like, here's a great example of one where I would be hesitant to follow this guy. If the Lions decide they're not going to keep DJ Chark, I'm going to be pretty hesitant of following that guy wherever he goes. If the Lions do decide to keep him, then I might like him. You know what I mean? Like they'll have pretty good receiving core there. But if they let a guy like that leave, then you get a little nervous. I mean,
like you think a lot of his value is tied to the offense that he's in and his connection with Jared Goff. It's not necessarily DJ Chark is insulated with that value wherever he goes.
Geez, these free agent wide receivers stink.
It's bad. It's bad this year, but we're going to see them. We're going to see them get paid. Teams need wide receivers. Yeah. We're going to see these guys get paid because it's what's available.
Looking at this list, man.
Sterling Shepard, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Julio Jones, Lazard. You guys brought up.
It's highlighted by Lazard, right? Like Lazard is the highlight of this list.
I think probably
Juju
Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone will pay Jarvis Landry, but man, there's some yucky names on here for sure, bro.
You think Kansas City lets Juju go?
I don't know. I mean, he is an unrestricted free agent. He did set his contract up. I mean, his agent might be a genius here. If he's starting to come on a little bit, he did a 1-year deal, $3.7 million. They could franchise tag him, but he's an unrestricted free agent, so he could be top dog in this class. I mean.
Mecole Hardman also a unrestricted free agent this upcoming season. So yeah, I think Chiefs are going to make some moves here. We'll see some.
Yeah.
Where would you like Schuster to end up? Like, where would be a spot where you'd be happy with Juju
right where he is.
Schuster?
The Chiefs.
Staying on the Chiefs. Yeah, it's hard to get a much better situation than the top wide receiver on the Chiefs, right?
Yeah. Attached to Patrick Mahomes, it's fantastic. If I'm him, that's what I want to.
Yep.
I'm trying to think, not for fantasy, but for NFL, what would be the most fun? Maybe him lining up opposite of Justin Jefferson in Minnesota would be fun. Adam Thielen going out instead of letting KJ Osborne step up. It's a different kind of player, but
Instead of if you just got instead of using Isaiah McKenzie and Cole Beasley, if he was
you stole mine.
slot wide receiver for the Bills.
I was about to say, what if
God.
they're the 1 and 2, like a AB Juju type situation, but in Buffalo?
Nope, that's
Damn,
mine.
I'm with you, Coop.
Yeah,
That'd be
what
a
you would
good
do is you would use him like if he was in Buffalo, it would be like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, where you have Juju, you have Diggs as a split end, and Juju playing flanker. But then when you go 3 wide receiver sets, you move Juju into the slot, and Gabe Davis comes in to be the field stretching flanker on the outside. Like that would be pretty nice.
Pretty nice.
As a Patriots fan, kind of hoping that I just jinxed it and that it won't.
Tommy in the chat said, if you had to be physically attached to one quarterback, who would it be?
Kyler, he's the lightest.
You said Kyler?
He's the lightest.
I'm not doing the walking in this case. I'm picking the strongest, and I'm going to let him.
Dang.
Yeah,
Joe Flacco.
Josh Allen. Joe Flacco.
Paxton Lynch.
It'd be smart to pick somebody, JL, smart to pick somebody that doesn't play professional football because you just be getting crunched all the time, dude.
Like, you used to wear pads.
You'd want to back up. Yeah. Flacco just hanging out on the sideline. That'd be kind of tight.
Yeah.
I'll take Case Keenum. I think he lives relatively close to where I live, if I'm not mistaken, or like has a partial ownership in a winery down here. And then I don't have to play on the field all that much, but maybe there's a chance we get put in. Put us in, coach.
Put us in. You'd be like, I just imagine like you guys are like attached by the back, and you're just like, can you turn around so I can watch the game? It's my turn to watch the game.
What just happened? Also, Tommy said Minshew. I do have my dad's favorite NFL player up to this point, and he's not a huge football guy, has been Cam Newton, because he loved that Cam Newton would give the footballs to the kids in the crowd, regardless of the fine. He's like, stick it to the man, don't care about the money. I love that he does that. Well, Gardner Minshew came up, and I was telling my dad about how he lived in a prison bus this offseason. Like he said that's what he was going to do, and he did it. I think Gardner Minshew is my dad's new favorite player. He goes, I like a guy who sets a goal and follows through on it, and a guy that bucks the trend. You know, he's got all this money, but he doesn't do what people think he's got to do. He's in. Gardner Minshew is like the alt QB for my dad. He's like the alternative QB.
Your dad's like me. He loves the underdog.
He loves Minshew now. Minshew and Cam Newton, my dad's two favorite players based on
hilarious.
The conversations we've had.
Great choices, dude. Your dad likes a little pizzazz. He likes a little razzle dazzle, huh?
He does, which if you meet my dad, you wouldn't expect it, but he wants some razzle dazzle in his QBs.
Sometimes
some personality.
Sometimes, if you're a conservative person, you like a little razzle dazzle to root for. You little vicarious razzle dazzle. That's my new fantasy team name. If I can find a website where that will fit. I don't know if that one's gonna fit on Yahoo. You'll
have to shorten it. V razzle dazzle. V stands for vicarious.
It's even
vicarious.
Why don't I just make my team name V for vicarious?
That's kind of good too.
I like vicarious RD. Sounds like a rapper name.
The old vicarious.
What's your first Dear Diarrhea entry?
So
what you got for us?
Dear Diarrhea. Next year, don't be afraid to steer away from the bad narratives, from the bad situations, from the matchups. Don't be afraid to play the matchups. This year, more than ever, for instance, tight end, the tight ends, there's some middle of the tier teams that don't matter, but at the high end and the low end, the teams that are very good versus the tight end, the teams that are very bad versus the tight end, it's been a consistent place to either get or stay away from fantasy points. Like you can on this show when we do the prop bet draft, I've just been picking the under for tight ends that play the Saints, and it's been hitting every time. Or I've been picking the over for tight ends that play the Cardinals, play the Seahawks. Lean into the matchups. And don't be afraid, especially in fantasy playoffs, to lean into or stay away from the matchups. If you have a game, and that should honestly extend all the way to the highest players. Like there are a lot of people, say what you want about you have to start your studs. You have to start these guys. Guess what? There are a lot of people that had to start Stephon Diggs this week, and they probably lost their matchup. You know what I mean? You felt like you had to start this guy. You don't have to start him. If the wind's gonna be crazy, you don't have to start that guy. You don't have to start Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's gonna catch one pass for 2 yards. You didn't have to start Juwan Johnson and chase touchdowns because he played in a windstorm. You don't have to start guys against Sauce Gardner, right? You didn't have to start Zay Jones this week because he scored 3 touchdowns last week, right? That's what happened. You started him against Sauce Gardner, you lost. Don't be afraid to lean into the matchups at any point if it worries you. So that's, next year I'm going to keep that in mind where forget the fact that Tyreek Hill is wide receiver 3 on the year. If he was going to be playing in a windstorm against a top corner, I'm not going to start him. And I'm going to try and remember that for next year, because it's so easy to forget and get right back into the start your studs situation where you don't have to start players that are in bad situations.
Especially as the season goes on. I feel like that's something that I need to get better about. Is at the beginning of the season, I'm way more start your studs,
right?
Because defenses change so much from year to year that we don't quite know what the strengths and weaknesses on a micro level. Like on a macro level, we have a general idea of what these defenses are, but we don't understand where the matchups are actually good or bad yet at the beginning of the year. But as the season goes on and we get more and more data, we've got a pretty clear picture at this point. Week 16, we know which teams are good against the tight end, which teams are bad against running backs. And of course, sometimes there's outlier games, but like at this point in the season, there's a point where you need to make that mindset switch. Like, okay, we have enough data. It's all right. It's not cute to bench Stephon Diggs in a tough matchup in crazy weather. That's not cute. That's just me making a decision. Because I get stuck in the start your studs mindset for sure. How many times have I said, what are you going to do? Bench Stephon Diggs? Like, maybe you should have. I didn't.
Maybe you should, man. Yeah, there's sometimes, it's like, and you're right. Early in the season, it's hard. We didn't know that Jeff Okudah was going to be so good. We didn't know that Jack Jones was going to be so good. So for early in the season, yeah, you start your studs. But then as you get sample sizes and we find out, hey, this Sauce Gardner guy is for real. He's the top graded cornerback in coverage in the league, not just for the rookies, in the entire league. Like, we knew that now. Like, going into this Thursday game, we just watched DJ Chark have back-to-back 90-yard games and then get completely shut down by Sauce Gardner. And we watched Zay Jones get shut down by Sauce Gardner. So going into championship week, you have to keep that in mind. That, like, who's going to be this week? We'll check it out. DK Metcalf is going to get Sauce Gardner. Now you got to think to yourself, do I want to risk my entire championship on a situation that I know is bad for my player? So.
Probably not. I got one more for us, guys. One more Dear Diarrhea. You mind if I jump into my second
entry?
One?
Do it.
You're on the back of the page doing a little postscript.
Yeah. Little PS. Dear Diarrhea. PS. Don't be scared off by crowded situations when one player is clearly the most talented in that situation. Like, I'm just scrolling through this list of names, and it's paying off multiple times here. Josh Jacobs. People got scared off because they drafted Zamir White. We knew how good Josh Jacobs was, and we saw the draft capital on Zamir White. And lo and behold, Josh Jacobs is the dude, right? Ramondre Stevenson, there was a crowded room there with Damian Harris. We were worried, is he going to be the lead dog? And I know there was injuries that helped it out, but still, talent finds its way to be fantasy relevant, to be the lead guy. Ramondre Stevenson got his way up there. Tony Pollard splitting with Ezekiel Elliott, wildly talented. He's a top 8 PPR running back right now because he's talented. He got the carries. He found his way to the top. We could keep on going down this list, but Travis Etienne started the season behind James Robinson, right? And now he's the lead back. He's going to be an RB2 with RB1 upside for you rest of season. Breece Hall, before he got injured, people were worried about Michael Carter in there. He was running away with that job as well. If they're talented and it's crowded, that means you're probably just getting a value, man. Don't be afraid of a crowded situation if there's one clearly more talented player.
I like that, Simon. I like that. It's kind of like a variation of talent wins out.
Yeah, 100%.
Which I completely agree with.
Yeah, and running back is the harder one. Wide receiver is the easier one for that mantra. I'm impressed that you went running back because it would have been a lot easier to do wide receiver and just say, look, virtually every team has wide receivers, multiple wide receivers on the field every play. It's harder for Tony Pollard to win out, as we saw over the course of the last couple of years, because most plays you only have one running back on the field. With wide receiver, when you have 2 to 3 on the field every play, it's a lot easier for the talent to win out because it's not like you have to bench one for the other. The decision makes itself, and the talent earns the targets. So at wide receiver, especially, You know, if you're going to have 3 guys out there, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, you got to think about who you think is up and coming, who's more talented. In this case, looking back on it, we didn't really know Zay Jones was going to be as good as he is, but you could probably have faded Marvin Jones at his age, you know? So something to think about for next year when we're getting these situations. Who is the best player?
Scampers in, you're saying Amon-Ra St. Brown is an example there. Yeah, crowded there. People were worried about him. Maybe he was only good because he was the only show in town last year. Everyone else got injured. Nope, he's just good. He's just a good wide receiver.
It's harder with somebody like that though, because he's a 4th round pick and he's not fast. You know what I mean? Like we didn't know for sure with him. Like it's not like we're talking about Mike Evans here,
right?
But now we know. But now we know.
A follow-up item here, because it's related to one I wrote down here, Simon, is don't buy into all the bad offensive narratives. And I think the Amon-Ra St. Brown is a prime example of that. And we've seen a lot of that this year. The Giants, the Jaguars, the Lions all have had decent offenses, less so the Giants. But at least the Jaguars and the Lions, pretty decent offenses for bad teams that we were fading this year.
The thing is, you do want to, in the years where you know the team is tanking, then you kind of fade them. Like the Lions last year, they built that team to tank. The Texans this year were built to.
But if you started Amon-Ra St. Brown towards the end of last year, you're pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, but you also had to add him off waivers because he was doing nothing, unless you had crazy deep benches. He was doing like literally
in the first part of this season. Yeah, as a rookie,
he did nothing at all.
But to your point, Joe, Dameon Pierce this year, fantasy relevant on the Houston Texans. There are fantasy relevant pieces on these bad teams, and sometimes the narrative is just wrong. Right. Sometimes the narrative, like sometimes the Lions offense is going to be bad.
You expect
exactly. Dig a step deeper on what these offenses are supposed to look like instead of just the assumption, oh, Broncos good, Lions bad. Because lo and behold, Lions good, Broncos bad. How's that for some analysis?
I mean, Seahawks is, I think, is another prime example of that, right? We saw the Seahawks that everyone was fading because of the quarterback situation that didn't turn out the way we thought.
Yeah. The quarterback is awesome on the Seahawks.
Geno Smith, freaking legend.
Man.
Just waiting for that 30 for 30. There's a couple good 30 for 30s out of this year. We're definitely getting a Chiefs bank robbing one. Like we have to get a Chiefs bank robbing one. And then we're definitely getting a Geno Smith one, the comeback kid. Right? Like we gotta get both of those.
And Baker Mayfield, maybe.
If they
MVP,
you know what? That story's not done being written yet.
MVP.
Man, benched because they're killing it. That had to feel good for Baker to go out there and be on a team that scored 51 points, to be the quarterback of a team that just blowout. Got it. Done.
Do you think that they reignite the at home with Baker Mayfield commercials?
Maybe it's on the road with Baker Mayfield now, and now he is no longer at home.
And it's Baker, traveling quarterback.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield just running around. He's
Nickelodeon's got to capitalize on him being the MVP. You got to get Baker.
He's perfect for that, right? They could have picked a better player.
I keep thinking about that broadcast, man. It's so good, dude. Here's another thing that you might have missed that they did. Is that whenever there was a penalty, because it's like educational too. You're trying to teach the kids. Whenever there was a penalty, they had a little Rob Gronkowski in an elf costume pop up and explain the penalty to everyone. Gronk would pop up with like an elf hat, and then he would explain the penalty, and then he would make a terrible joke at the end. He'd be like, yeah, holding's when you grab the other guy so he can't run away. You can call holding on the offense or defense. He goes, the only kind of holding I like is holding kittens.
Nailed it.
Like that's just absolutely ridiculous, dude. But
I would not let Gronk hold my kitten. I'm just gonna be honest. Like those hands are too big and too strong for me to trust a kitten in them. Yeah, it wouldn't be on purpose.
You're definitely gonna get like a Lenny situation, a mice and men with Gronk.
Just petting it like this.
Lighter Gronk, gentler.
I love the kitten.
I know you do.
His name is also Gronk.
I named it Gronk. No, that's Felipe.
Right. I'm gonna need you to look the other way, Gronk. We get that movie is actually really sad.
Scaver said, I loved those. I do hope they bring the commercials back. When I was in Cleveland and I was looking out my hotel window and I saw the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame next to Progressive, I was just thinking, like,
all I could think about was the commercial where Baker has the package delivered to his house that was meant for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, and I was like, that was really funny because they are right next to each other. Oh, sorry, Sting, I got your package over here. Or who was it? It was Slash, Sting. I can't remember.
It was a Slash, but I was trying to remember who it was too.
Tommy said, I will love him and squeeze him and call him George. And call him Gronk.
And call him Gronk. And Albert in here saying Russell Wilson now has as many touchdown passes as bathrooms.
Boo.
It only took 16 weeks to throw 12 touchdown passes.
I was rooting for the bathrooms.
James Conner had more touchdowns last season than Russell Wilson has throwing touchdowns. Passing touchdowns.
I like throwing touchdowns. Throwing touchdowns. Tossing touchdowns.
Yeah, toss.
Touchdown tosses.
Frank the Tank, and you said Cooper Kupp was crushing it this year before the injury. Is he still a top wide receiver pick next year? Do we have to see what happens with the QB in LA?
Great question.
It definitely changes it if the QB is going to be Baker Mayfield, right?
Yeah. It just adds too much, another variable, right? That you don't want to deal with that. We don't like change. That's why the Chiefs are so easy to draft the last handful of years, that it was like, you knew it was Mahomes, you knew it was Tyreek Hill, you knew it was Travis Kelce. And they're highly consolidated. The world was easy. Like, that's what we want. We want the Vikings offense where it's like Jefferson. Now the Hawkins is in the mix, kind of messes things up a little bit. But at the beginning of the season, it was Jefferson, Thielen, Dalvin Cook. Easy, right? You want Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. There was no question who the next, like, if a third wide receiver could even get in the mix. That's what we want. We want that highly consolidated stuff with a quarterback we trust. We don't want quarterback changes. You don't want, these like a Jaguar situation where we have no idea who is going to be the top dog. I don't like that. So I want Stafford back, Cooper Kupp back, and no other curveballs.
I mean, they're pretty invested in Stafford, right? Like, it was a 4-year, pretty heavy contract. They got a couple years left before he's a free agent. It just seems odd them picking up Baker Mayfield and then Baker Mayfield doing well. Like, it does add a confusion, but in my mind, Stafford's the starter. Like, it's Stafford's job in my mind.
Yeah, maybe it's something where they keep Baker around and for whenever Stafford retires, they have Baker Mayfield in the wings ready to go. I don't think that happens. I think that requires like a very fine line to toe that I don't think they're going to. But I do think Matthew Stafford will likely come back, will be fine, and Baker Mayfield they'll probably try and trade him.
I was about to say, I like Baker. I do not think he is a graceful backup most of the time. You know what? I say that. I got to give him some more credit because whenever PJ Walker took over in Carolina, dude was his number one supporter on the sideline, was running down the field when he scored touchdowns. You know what, Baker? I take back what I said. You can be a killer backup.
You're right. No, you're right though. I think he can only be a backup on a team that has a strong starter.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't want the distraction. That's what they talk about. You don't want the fans booing the starter. You don't want them calling for the backup. That was the big problem with Colin Kaepernick, is that when you have him as your backup, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You don't want, if you have us, like when it was the Seahawks were talking about signing Russ, when they had Russ Wilson and they were talking about signing Kaepernick as the backup, like Pete Carroll came out and he said that he was like, this guy should be competing for a starting job. Like, we don't have a starting job to compete for. Right. Which it makes sense. You don't want that distraction. A lot of times, like if you have Josh Allen, the backup quarterback, you want a guy who the most important thing isn't even really that he's ready to play, honestly, because if Josh Allen goes down, then you probably already lost. What you want is a guy who can run the scout team, who can mimic what the other team is doing in practice and get your defense ready. And you want a guy that's like a pseudo coach on the sidelines. Right.
So it has a sick mustache like Gardner Minshew.
So, I mean, that would be perfect too. A little rah-rah. So yeah, that's why some guys, and you want smart people. Like if you're going to have a guy that's not playing, you want him to be smart so he can help out. Kevin O'Connell was such a great backup quarterback for a long time, exactly because of that. He stayed in the league and hung around as a backup quarterback for a while. And now he's a coach of the Vikings, right? He was clearly smart. So you want as many of those smart guys hanging around as possible. Maybe you don't want like some of these guys that are, causing distractions and not putting in the work, right?
Yeah, him as a backup, the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, I don't know that he would be okay with that. I think that's the issue here, right?
Yeah, he's a competitor.
He's a competitor. He's used to being the center of attention, right? And the star on a team. And I think that's a tough pill to swallow, to then shift that mindset and his own identity towards, I'm a backup now. And so
So
I do think
there is a good spot for that player, right, JL? Like there are places for that player. You don't want him as your backup if you have Patrick Mahomes, but if your starter is Kyler Murray, maybe you want a backup that has that fire, that's pushing the starter to be better, and you want to have that threat and say, hey, you know what? We got this guy right here, and this guy got a lot of heart, right? And he wants to play. So those are the situations where I actually would want that. Like if you have Sam Darnold as your starter, that was a good spot for them to bring in Baker and be like, you know what? Like this guy's competing. So if I have a situation where I want someone to compete to be the starter, I want the Minshews, I want the Baker Mayfields. If I have a starter that is locked in, then I want somebody that is going to be like a coach. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'll take the Brian Hoyer as my backup quarterback. If I
mean, maybe he could the Browns starting quarterback hasn't been playing so well. Maybe they could bring Baker in to provide some pressure to the starting quarterback for the Browns.
The Browns would be interesting.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? That'd be crazy.
Be perfect, dude. That's a genius idea. But what are some other spots like the Texans? You got Davis Mills as your starter. Give me a Minshew. Give me a Baker Mayfield, and say, hey, you know what? Let's have a competition here. We got a Cowboy. Like you're the starter, but we got a Cowboy here that's ready to take your job. So are you going to step up this year? If Skadely do, are you going to step up this year and be the man here, or is this weirdo going to be the man? And you point over your shoulder at Baker or Minshew, right?
With their headbands.
Yeah. What are some other ones? There's got to be some other ones where you want a competition at QB. Like
Mr. Scamper said Titans. I could see it with the Titans. That's not a bad call, Mr. Scampers.
Why not, dude? Definitely don't want it with the Jaguars, with Trevor. Like Trevor Lawrence is your guy.
Yep.
The last thing you want is Baker in there being, causing any sort of ruckus.
Do not invite Baker over if you live
Saints?
in Jacksonville.
I was about to say Saints. I wonder, just Baker on the Saints would be interesting. That'd be wild to see.
The Jets get some Mike White pressure. Mike White seems to like the pressure, seems to like the lights. Also, just the big balls energy of Mike White and Baker Mayfield in the same quarterback room. That would be the most almost offensive big balls energy.
They'd be locking horns.
Too much BB.
Too much locking horns. Too much showdown.
Locking horns.
Locking horns. Isn't that like Baker versus Minshew versus Mike White, dude? That'd just be
versus Jim Harbaugh on his cleats.
That'd be a bro down. That'd be a full on bro down.
They're all wearing. Jim Harbaugh's orchestrating the fight, and he's like, "Guys, get into uniform." I'm like, what do you mean uniform? They're like jock straps and cleats only.
I'd put those four dudes up against anyone in a dodgeball game.
I think we just accidentally assembled the perfect dodgeball team.
That's the squad.
Wait, so it's Mike White, Gardner Minshew, Baker Mayfield, and who else?
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh. Oh my God. Yeah, they got it in the bag.
Jim Harbaugh's like the old guide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's still like going back, even on the 49ers, I see clips of him. Like he still is a dude in practice that insists that he will be throwing the passes. Like he will be
move aside, show you how it's done.
He like rotates. It'll be like the quarterback, the backup quarterback, and then he goes in and takes a bunch of reps, just like tossing balls. Like he's a baller.
Albert said the Colts. Colts are interesting for Baker.
Oh yeah,
apply some pressure to Matt Ryan.
Great one, Albert.
Yeah, add some pressure to Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan's done, dude.
Scamper said jockstrap dodgeball for the Pro Bowl. Next
slinging it and winging it.
Don't say slinging it and winging it. Is that the slogan for jockstrap dodgeball? Slinging it and winging it.
Ew, dude.
Whatcha? That's throwing the ball, is what that is. 100%.
Slinging that strap around.
Slinging it and winging it.
Coming up, we're going to make some Monday Night Football predictions for tonight's game, and then we're going to recap some of these Week 16 games as well. Right now, you're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
It's Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Moose and Keith with you. Let's welcome aboard right now, Iron Eagle.
One of the great stories that I have from doing notes on a plane, and you always get people looking over. They see color-coded uniform numbers, names, height, weight, age, background, hometown. And I had a woman sitting next to me on a flight, and I'm doing my notes, and she's kind of giving the look, then looking. And I can tell she's looking. And then finally, she'll say, so what is it that you do? Well, what do you think I do? She said, are you a wedding planner? I said, yes. I said, I have to put Rob Gronkowski at Tom Brady's table. I said, you know what? You're not correct, but it's the best answer I've ever heard.
That's great. Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
As far as fantasy life, fantasy executive, it's going to be a football life. The fantasy executive is probably going to be the best football life ever.
And who'll be the guest? Everyone who was on yesterday. Basically.
Yeah, everybody that's on yesterday will be the guest. Scott Ingram, you know what I'm saying? Adam Ronis. Yeah, everybody, those people. Because what Nando, obviously you'll be there. You know what I'm saying? We'll go to the GST and shoot some scenes. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be nice.
We'll shoot some scenes in Midtown Manhattan. Antonio Brown can be on my football life,
That'd
right?
be nice.
Because that's a big part of my come up as a fantasy analyst. Everybody, the football life, the fantasy executive is going to be for the people. When they do the football life on the fantasy executive, I'm going to be hands on.
Good. Yeah. You talking to you.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Cheetos or Doritos?
I truly love both. Cool Ranch Doritos. I grew up on Cheetos. I was a big Chester Cheetah guy.
Oh, nice.
But Ray, as I have aged into adulthood, I've moved away from the fun that is the Cheeto, and I've gone to the, more cosmopolitan Cool Ranch Dorito chip. So I'm probably a Cool Ranch guy. How about you?
I would go Doritos. I don't like Cool Ranch. The traditional, original, regular, whatever it is really good. But my favorite's actually the sweet chili, the purple bag. Oh, it's delicious. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The one that sucks, and I think we can all agree on this one, taco.
Yeah.
I know a lot of things, and I'm perfect at a lot of things. My Dorito trivia is a little shaky.
Okay.
A little shaky. But I think taco is the first flavor.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Mr. Scamper's in here, JL. Maybe might have one-upped you on the slogan for the Jockstrap Dodgeball League. Strapping it and slapping it is what we got right there.
Strapping it and slapping.
Also, why can I...
Oh, no.
Every time
no. What have you done? Scampers, what have you done?
Every time you read it, it gets worse.
Mods, please remove Scampers from the chat.
Slapping it and slapping it.
And I'm imagining it's just Jim Harbaugh saying strapping it and slapping it. And then the commercial ends as he slaps the ball and you're good to go. Why can't I just Jail, you've broken me because now every time I picture Jim Harbaugh, it is the perfect image. I can picture him down to his nipple hair in the jockstrap with cleats on. Like I have a 4K high definition image of Jim Harbaugh rocking a jockstrap and cleats in my mind every time I hear his name.
I don't even think I was the one that made the connection to Jim Harbaugh. The prompt was, would you rather only have to wear a jockstrap and cleats for the rest of your life? And you guys brought up some Jim Harbaugh somehow.
It's your fault. I put full blame on you.
Dude, anytime jockstrap and cleats comes up, Harbaugh immediately comes to mind, though.
See, I think it was him.
Yeah.
I think it was that guy.
I wanted to play, before we get to Monday Night Football, I just wanted to bring up a topic that is always interesting this time of year. Nowadays, because of how they do the schedule, it's even crazier than it used to be. So there's always, this time of year, there's a saying that you hear: control your own destiny, right? You know that one?
I know that
playoff jail. Think about it. When they say, so what they mean that is they basically mean, as your team, you sit there and look at the locker room and you say, if we don't lose any of our games, if we win all our games, we make the playoffs, no matter what happens in the other game. If we win both these last 2 games, we're in the playoffs. So there's a number of teams that are in that situation, and you might be surprised at which ones are and which ones aren't because of the way the schedule lines up. Like, for instance, the Giants. If the Giants win both these games, they're in the playoffs. But they control their own destiny. Same with the Jaguars. If the Jaguars win both these games, they're in.
It's weird. It's like I can hear it.
The Patriots. If the Patriots win both their games, it doesn't matter what happens in the other games. How crazy is that?
It's wild.
But the reason being, the Patriots control their own destiny. The Dolphins control their own destiny. The Bills control their own destiny because those teams all play each other to end the season.
Destiny.
Right? But there's a few teams, unfortunately, the Lions don't.
Boo. That was so disappointing this weekend. Like, the Panthers, man, you've been on this hot streak. You're America's team. Everyone wants you to make the playoffs, and you're going to come out and let the Panthers light you up. Come on.
The Lions, now that they have they lost this week, even if they win both their games, they only have a 70% chance of making the playoffs. They need a specific series of events to make it. The Jets do not control their own destiny. They can make the playoffs, but they need very specific series of events to make it. And then
we talked about that, the hamburger thing.
Yep. The Packers need help, but there's quite a few teams, man. If they just win, the Chargers, if they win tonight, they're in. The Bucks, obviously, can win out. The Panthers, because the Panthers play the Bucks next week.
That's stupid that the Panthers can still make the playoffs. That's dumb.
Basically, like, the odds of this Panthers Bucks game is everything, right? So, and same thing really for the Patriots Dolphins. So this is going to be a big week of real life football. Just wanted to, before we get to Monday Night Football, point that out, that if you're a fan of any of these teams that are still in it, a lot of them, all you got to do to get in is win.
And Mr. Scampers in the chat, on topic fully. You know who else controls their own destiny? Jim Harbaugh's hairy thighs. Controlling their own destiny. And Albert, echoing what you're saying, Chargers win tonight and they're in.
They're in. It's
if they can pull that W off tonight against the Jeff Saturday led Indianapolis Colts.
They can jump over that Jeff Saturday sized wall.
It's all
playoffs.
It's all in how you look at it, you know. The as a Patriots fan, it's easy to be hopeful, but they have to beat the Dolphins and the Bills, so they're probably not going to make playoffs.
That's pretty brutal. Control your own destiny, but standing in your way is 2 of the best teams in the NFL. Good luck.
Goliath and Goliath.
Right.
Guys, let's talk a little bit about this game tonight. We've got the Chargers going to Indianapolis to face the Indianapolis Colts. The Chargers are 4-point favorites on the road with a 45.5-point over-under. So they're expecting some points to be scored. Right there, just about an average over-under, though this is blistering for the over-unders we saw this week. This is a high-scoring game compared to some of these over-unders that we saw. Let's start out simple. Coop, who's going to win this game? Are the Jeff Saturday-led Colts getting a W, or are the Chargers locking up their playoff spot?
I think the Chargers can win this one. The Colts, the thing is, the Colts can battle, but I just think the Chargers are the better team, and I want the Chargers to win. The Chargers are at least a fun team. Like, if I could take off my Patriots hat for a moment and put it over here, the Patriots are a boring team, and they're not fun to watch. So if I was just an unbiased football fan, I would definitely rather the Chargers make the playoffs than the Patriots. So I'm rooting for the Chargers to win. I want them in.
I'm going Chargers as well here. I think the Chargers are the better team. They've got something they're playing for tonight, right? Like, they know if they win this game, they make the playoffs, and this is a winnable game against these Colts. I'm rolling Chargers. John Luke, what about you?
I'm with you guys. I'm going Chargers as well. The Colts have been able to hang in, which has been better than I expected. I will say that. The Colts have done much better than I expected, but yeah, I agree with you guys. Chargers much better team, and I think they're just not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, we got triple Chargers, which always makes me nervous whenever we're all on the same side there with how the NFL has been this year. Albert in the chat saying, I need Mike Williams to outscore Pittman by 2 points. So let's roll into that one right here. Who will score more fantasy points tonight? Mike Williams or Michael Pittman? John Luke,
Which one of those two players is going to score more PPR fantasy points?
PPR. I'm gonna go with God, it's actually really tough. I'm gonna go with Mike Williams. He's just been getting the targets. Targets have been there for him. Michael Pittman is deal. Did I say Pittman or Williams?
I don't remember.
I'm
You
afraid
said-
I said
you said
Pittman, but
Mike
I meant
Williams. You said
okay,
Mike
I meant
Williams
Mike
has been
Williams.
getting the
Sorry,
targets.
yeah, Mike Williams. He's been getting the targets, which is really good for him. Pittman, he's playing with Foles. There's an added level of uncertainty here with him this week. I don't expect him to have a poor game. I think these guys are actually very close, but I'm gonna go Mike Williams.
Mike Williams for JL. What about you, Coop?
So the thing is, everything JL said is true, and in a vacuum would be the case, and very well still might be the case depending on how this game pans out. The one thing that scares me is that Keenan Allen plays in the slot, and Mike Williams is the bigger player. He's the split end. He plays outside, and then Josh Palmer plays on the other side opposite him. I could see the Colts just putting Stephon Gilmore on Mike Williams, just saying, hey, why don't you give that guy a tough day? And the Chargers on their side, they were supposed to have a guy to do that named JC Jackson, but he's got quite a bit going on right now, dude. Not only did he get injured, but he was actually he was arrested recently. So JC Jackson has a lot on his plate. He's obviously not going to be playing this week. And Asante Samuel Jr. is good, but he's not quite a full-on shutdown corner at this point. Some guys jump out. I mean, we've seen a couple of young guys like Sauce Gardner, and also the other guy from Asante Samuel Jr.'s class for the Broncos, whose name escapes me.
Surtain.
Patrick Surtain. He's been shut down, but Asante Samuel hasn't quite been. So I think actually I'm going to go Michael Pittman here. I think Michael Pittman can outscore Mike Williams.
Pittman from Coop. And Coop, you make a strong point. I'm going with Mike Williams. I think he gets it done. I feel like this is a game where he has a long touchdown. He's one of the premier red zone targets in the league as well, right? And I expect this Chargers team to score pretty heavily against the Colts today. I think this is going to be a fun game. Like, whenever I look at this game, it has the potential to be a slow, bad game with what we've seen from some of these teams. But recently, both of these offenses seem like they're clicking. The Colts were able to put up 36 points against the Vikings, which isn't a great defense, but this Chargers defense isn't great either. I think the Chargers are going to have to score to win this game. It's not going to be some just grinded out kind of game where the Colts lay over and go down by 20. And I think Mike Williams is going to be a part of that. So I'm rolling M-Will in this one, but I don't mind the Pittman call.
Yeah,
and I would be nervous.
It's a matter of talent versus matchup. So, like, if you go in talent, Justin Herbert to Mike Williams, and just Mike Williams in a vacuum, I would have him over Mike. Like, if I was starting a team now, I would draft Michael Pittman before Mike Williams before Michael Pittman. That's, I just think Mike Williams is awesome. But from a matchup perspective, there is a possibility that Stephon Gilmore, former defensive player of the year, comes in and gives Mike Williams a hard time. And when you have other weapons, it doesn't necessarily have to be a complete shutdown. It could just be that, hey, it's easier to throw the ball to Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen and
Josh Palmer
and Gerald Everett and Josh Palmer. It's just, sometimes it's like, hey, you know what? They want to take that guy away. We'll throw it to the guys it's easier to throw to. So sometimes that does happen.
For sure. Guys, if you're enjoying what we do over here, if we've helped you out this season, you should head on over to our YouTube channel at Front Yard Fantasy. Hit that subscribe button. Check out our shorts, our pre-recorded content. And if you hit that notification bell, you'll make sure you never miss any of our live shows, because we're live all the time doing nonsense.
Get over there.
Playing games,
all year
talking
long.
fantasy.
Check out our shorts. Check out our jock straps. Check out our cleats. You know what I mean?
We got it all.
Got it.
Everything you need, winter or summer.
I actually was hanging out with my wife's cousin this week, right? And we're watching the games on Saturday, and he's got Kareem Hunt on his bench, and that game is already going on. And it's Yahoo, so you can drop guys off your bench. And I'm looking at his lineup. I'm like, dude, just drop Kareem Hunt right now. You're never going to start him next week. You're not starting him now. Add somebody from one of these later games, right? I went to the Front Yard Fantasy YouTube, and I pulled up the shorts, and I pulled up a clip of the three of us talking about Jahan Dotson and Jahan Dotson making plays, right? And I said, drop Kareem Hunt and add this guy. He adds Jahan Dotson to his bench. And then later, when Jahan Dotson scored a touchdown, he said, bro, why didn't you tell me to start Jahan Dotson over Michael Gallup? So I got myself in trouble. I was like, bro, I can bring the horse to water, but I can't make you drink, dude. Like, so he was able to drop Kareem Hunt live and add Jahan Dotson right before the game, but then he was disappointed that he didn't actually put him in the
start
lineup
him
because he had like 7 for 76, 6 for 76 and a touchdown. But yeah, that's
Jahan Dotson's good.
That's the power of Front Yard Fantasy YouTube channel, though, dude.
We did it. It was all us. What can I say?
We can guide you to water, but we can't make you drink. Front Yard Fantasy.
That's right.
We can try, and we will.
We will make
drink the water.
Just waterboarding. Yeah, come over to our YouTube channel. Get your eyes virtually waterboarded by our clips.
Front Yard Fantasy.
Albert said, "I need Mike Williams to outscore Pittman by 2 points."
Yep, we did that. That's why we just did that whole exercise.
It looks like Jail and I are thinking yes, and Coop is thinking no. It's not going to happen.
Well, no. I'm thinking that actually, yeah, you would still lose if Pippen outscores him anyway. Yeah, sorry, Albert. I'm on the other team.
Coop says, yeah, I'm out of here.
Later.
Guys, unfortunately, I have to go save the galaxy. I've got an appointment. I need to meet back up with that guy. He needs help saving the galaxy. You talked to me.
What was his name?
His name was Houston Texans fan 07, I believe.
Classic.
Yeah, the other six. The other 6 are still out there in the desert with no one to jump over their car.
Like, we need one more person.
They haven't reached that step of the mission yet. This guy's the furthest along, and I got to go help him see it through.
All right,
but close this out for me.
Proud of you, buddy.
Save the galaxy for us. We'll see you tomorrow.
So long.
And if he doesn't save the galaxy, then I guess there will be no tomorrow. So
doesn't matter.
So we might as well just go full Coop in the hog.
Coop in the hog.
We gotta get some shades going, dude. We should all have them.
I got them somewhere around here.
I got a couple spare pairs if you need them.
Yeah, just throw them to me.
Here, catch.
I was so confident that you were just gonna throw your sunglasses at your camera.
I have no problem throwing them this way, but maybe not at my camera.
Adam said add Zach Moss in there as well. I don't remember the context of which he brought that up.
Yeah, do you remember? I think he earlier he had a start sit where it was he had to pick one of Pittman, Moss. Adam, can you throw the question back up there again?
Albert,
sorry,
yeah.
it scrolled past the screen.
Oh, Adam, no, it was Adam. It wasn't Albert.
Yeah, it was Adam.
Oh, is this Brady's and Rodgers last year? No, I don't know. I don't see another question. Adam, let us know what you were talking about. We're confused.
Yeah. Sorry, he said start Pittman or Zach Moss in my flex today. I'm starting Michael Pittman.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm starting Michael Pittman just because we don't know. Like, first of all, Zach Moss, he's the running down back. So if it's going to be split, Deion Jackson's going to skew pass downs. We also don't even know if Zach Moss is going to start. It could be Deion Jackson. I lean in thinking Zach Moss will start because he got 50 snaps compared to only 25 for Deion Jackson. But either way, it's risky enough that you might as well just start Pittman. You know Pittman's going to play every snap because he always does.
Yeah, it seems like years ago now, but the last game we saw these two guys in last week was against the Minnesota Vikings. It was that comeback from hell. I don't even know what you call it for the Colts. It was terrible. Yeah. So yeah, I'm completely with you, Coop. It does look like Zach Moss is the main guy there for now, but we don't know whether that was just like a weird game script. If we see Deion Jackson get used more in the passing game, that might switch things up here. But you just got to go the more safe route here, which is Pittman.
Right. And Uncle P asks, who is the starting RB for the Colts? What happened to Deion Jackson? So Deion Jackson was good, was great early on in the year when Jonathan Taylor was out. He even had the game where he had 10 catches. But here's the thing. Not only was Marlon Mack not with the team then, but it was a different coach. So the coach that was coaching the team at that time got fired. And now Jeff Saturday is coach. So you really can't lean into anything that was happening back then because it's different guy making the calls.
Different, regime.
You know? So I think this is the way I'm looking at it. If I'm winning my matchup, then I'm putting in Zach Moss. I think he's the safest play. If you need the Hail Mary, though, Deion Jackson has flashed, and in PPR, that's where you get the upside. Like, so if I'm doing like a DraftKings showdown slate tonight, and I want to pick one of these running backs, and it's on DraftKings, which is full PPR, probably gonna start Deion Jackson because we're not gonna see Zach Moss. I think I said Marlon Mack by accident because I associate those two guys together. But Zach Moss I don't think he's really gonna pop the way a Deion Jackson could. That's just why I think earlier this week, you were the one that kind of sold me on Deion Jackson. I was full gun ho on Zach Moss, and you were the one that was like, we've seen him before. He's looked good. I went back and looked at it. You're right. I even watched some of the highlights. He did look good. He looked great in the pass game, man.
Yeah.
Some guys catching like, when you look at him, you actually watch them catch. Like Jordan Howard it was like alligator arms. He'd be like the girl in gym class that's like,
no tact.
Going like that and it's hitting him in the face. Nah, Deion Jackson.
That was me. I was that girl in the gym class.
I was that girl. You're playing volleyball and your glasses get smashed off. Like that was Jordan Howard. And but Deion Jackson, he looks nice. So
Deion Jackson's looked good. Yeah, and I'm with you. I have been on we brought it up earlier in the week, and I think Deion Jackson I think we might just see a switch, right? We have one game sample size, so we're working with limited information here, right. And we have to take that into account because we might end up seeing something switch, especially when that one game sample size came from such a weird game.
Yeah, it could easily be an Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon situation where now that, as you pointed out, Jail, they were winning for most of the game and running the ball. Running is the luxury of the winning team. And that could be why Zach Moss got 50 snaps. In this game, the Chargers could come out from the opening snap and score a touchdown. And now you use your pass down back for the whole game. You're Jerick McKinnon, which could be Deion Jackson. So just the nature of these questions and how we don't know, that's why you start Michael Pittman.
Exactly.
You don't want to be part of that guessing game.
No, because if it does switch week 16 here, you don't want to be playing that game. You do not want to be playing that game.
Yeah. And losing on a coin flip, right? At least lose doing what you know. At least lose trusting the process. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like knowing that Michael Pittman every single game has played 80 to 90% of the snaps. You can believe in that.
So we chose we're in our game predictions here. We're making some predictions about the Monday night football game tonight, Chargers Colts. We guessed who will win the game, but I don't think we hit on who will cover the spread. The spread currently set at 4 points in favor of the Chargers. Chargers are the favorite here. Coop, are you taking the Chargers or the Colts to cover the spread?
I think it'll be a close game. So I'm taking the Chargers to win and the Colts to cover.
Chargers to win, Colts to cover. I like that.
Yeah.
Colts.
It's big enough. It's hard to thread the needle on those when it's like 1 point or 2 point spread. But with the spread that size, what ends up you got to think about how these games end sometimes. If it's 4 or 5 point spread, they could win by a field goal, they could win by 4, and with the other team going down, or you're up by 4, the other team has to score a touchdown to win. Happens all the time, so yeah. I could see that happening.
I'm going to take the Chargers on this one. I'm going to lean into this narrative that the Chargers are going to kind of run away with it. Not in the sense that it'll be a crazy blowout, but I think the Chargers will just be a little bit more high powered on the offense. And so we'll get more than at least a 1-score game, if not a little bit more. But I think that is a good line set here, Coop. And I think that you taking the Colts on this one is completely reasonable.
Right. The spread opened at 3. Now it's up to 4. So I'm willing to. I like that a little better. If the Chargers win with a last second field goal, say it's tied up and they win with a last second field goal, then I still cover. I like if it was 3, I might not have liked it as much.
Right. Yeah. So does that mean? So I guess it doesn't. You haven't indicated this. I'm likely implying here that I'm going to take the over on the total, which is set at 45.5. If I'm expecting a more high scoring game here, which I am, I'm going to take the over on this. What do you think? You can take the over under.
I'm actually the way the narrative I painted would lean more towards the under. Usually low scoring, close games are the ones where you get the team wins, but the other team covers. But I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think either of these teams are particularly amazing on defense. So I'm going to take the over and the cover. Close, which would be the most fun game to watch. A high scoring game that's a close game, and the team I want to win wins. That I'm kind of doing a little bit of fantasy wishing here, but it's what I think is a likely outcome. The way these two teams have been playing, they could easily go to a shootout and keep it close.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
It's Nick Foles, dude. It's magic, right? Certain guys, they got that magic.
They got that dog in them, and Nick Foles is one of them.
Magic.
He's one of them.
Yeah, I've seen.
Or he's going to come out and just spoof the bed.
He could poop the bed. He's got that in him too, right?
He's definitely got that in him.
Certain
for sure,
guys, yeah. He could win the Super Bowl or he could lose 40-0. That's magic. That's like Kirk Cousins magic, right? He could lose 40-3 to the Cowboys at home. He could go down by 35 points to this Colts team and win. Like he's got anything's on the table with Nick Foles.
Yeah, dude's a wild card. Uncle B said Herbert over and under 279.5. I'm guessing passing yards here. Why so low? Coop, do you feel like that's a low line for him?
Oh, that's high. Uncle P, that's pretty high, man. For an over under. If you look at, I mean, it's very rare they say that a guy's going to definitively come out and throw for 300 yards.
Usually it's high
over under.
200s.
I mean, like Malik Willis's over under this week was like 110, right? Like if you look at guys like Ryan Tannehill, typically when he plays, it's like just at 200. I think 280 is you feel pretty good about that in fantasy football, right?
Yeah, I mean the last let's see, 279.5 or 280 about, and he's hit that about 3 out of the 5 last games, most recent games here. And he got pretty close. I'm sorry, 4 out of the 5 because he hit 280 exactly on in week 11, and he got 274 the one week that he didn't. So I kind of liking that over. Liking that over. This is a tougher matchup. Colts secondary has been very good. Yeah, they've been fantastic. So maybe that's why we're seeing that those passing yards prop be so low. But I'd be interested. I might take the over on that.
You look at some of these other ones, man. Like the I think that's honestly pretty high. Like Aaron Rodgers is set at 250. Daniel Jones is set at like 230. Dak is set at 245.
Yeah. The high 200s is
Tua was at 274. I mean, like that's gonna the only guy that was set higher that I can find here, Patrick Mahomes was set at 294, which he's Patrick Mahomes and he's playing Seattle. So
right.
Yeah, but 280 is pretty good. You gotta I'm feeling if you're starting him in fantasy football, you're feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's Herbert's specialty, right? Is these passing yards. That's what the dude does. Get those yards.
And the huge part of that is that for this team, the short pass game is the extension of the running game. You know, I look at it's a beautiful thing for Herbert to have. It was what was so great for Drew Brees is that Alvin Kamara never had 1,000-yard season to this day, but he's had 1,000-yard receiving years. And because instead of running where one team would normally run a run, they run a short pass, and the Chargers to a T do that, and you get all those points for Justin Herbert. That's why he's such a good fantasy quarterback, because it's so much better for you instead of having Jonathan Taylor running up the middle to get the little dump offs.
Right. Do you think that changes with whenever Austin Eckler finally moves on?
I think I mean, the thing is, if this team finds success this year, like say they put together a run, then they're going to want to keep that. They're going to want to replicate that. That's what you want. You want this team to be successful so that they look and start saying, okay, who's going to be the next Austin Eckler? Who's going to be in that Eckler role? Like the Patriots for years, they were like, okay, we have Kevin Falk, and he's our go-to pass catching back on third down. And then as he got older, they were like, who's going to be the new Kevin Falk? And they went and got Danny Woodhead. And then when Danny Woodhead, they were like, who's going to be the next Danny Woodhead? They got James White. They got Deion Lewis. They always tried to keep that going for the offense. That's what you want to see for this Chargers. You want them to sit here and say, we need a pass catching back for this offense. Because, yeah, if it does change, it changes the way I look at Herbert.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's do a prediction on this prop that Uncle P has brought to us here. 279.5 passing yards. Coop, are you taking the over or under?
I think I'm going to take the over on that, because it's going to be hard to hit the over and hit all the over props and the win props without him having a good game. So I think he has a 300-yard passing game today.
I'm with you. I'm going to take the over as well.
Chuck it.
Yeah, let's do it. I might even put a little sauce on that.
I might
sprinkle a little money on that.
Legal now. It's legal now.
I can do whatever I want.
The rumor is that by the end of January, we'll have it here in Massachusetts.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's super exciting.
We've had a couple websites get their official Wynn casinos. You know, Steve Wynn, he's like the big casino guy. He built the casino out here, the Encore, and their sportsbook and their app have been approved. So exciting times. I can't wait to place my first ever bet.
Yeah. Yeehaw.
I would never, because I would never just text.
You hear that, police?
I would just never. I would never text my buddy and place a bet.
Never. You don't have buddies. Alan here saying,
Better
how
be
you
something.
fellas been? Miss getting to tune in. I'll be back listening soon. Stay classy, FYF. You know we will, Hal. We miss you,
That's a
buddy.
boy.
We
That's
miss
a
you.
boy. Okay, I miss Hal calling in because
Yeah.
Hal's one of the few legends that call in. Anyone out there, if you want to call in, talk about the game, talk about whatever, we take calls, man. We love hanging
We
out.
do.
So just give us a buzz right now. We'll put you live. Dude, Simon's not here, baby. This is Coop and the Hog.
Coop
We'll
and
do
the
whatever we
Hogs.
want, dude.
Yeehaw.
Show sheet's off.
No show sheet except for the one I'm looking at.
Except for that one.
Except for that one.
Which
But
we
that
will
one's
we
not
will
working.
continue to look at it, but we don't have to. That's the thing.
No.
Without Simon here, we don't
Do
play by
whatever we want.
anyone's rules, not even our own. So that's kind of we're going full counterculture and going against what we would normally do, and we're going off the show sheet.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening here.
It's our own way
Coop and the Hog.
to rebel a little bit against ourselves.
This one's a fun one, Coop. Will Brandon Staley go for it on 4th down in their own territory this game?
So we know that Brandon Staley is going to go for it. This is how often Brandon Staley goes for it. When Linda Godfrey, Lindellians on Twitter, she's like one of the best kicker rankers out there. She has that factored into her rankings that certain coaches go for it more often than other ones. And because of how often Brandon Staley goes for it on 4th down, she fades the Chargers kicker to a certain degree because midfield, this dude's he doesn't kick 60-yard field goals. They just go for it. Right. So I kind of do like that bet. Do we have a line for that? Like, is there I'd like to see what it is. Cause if that's a bet where it's like, $100 to make 500, I would even consider that. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take it if it's like even odds, right? Where it's like 100 to win 100. That's just too crazy to bet. But I mean, if there was a bet even odds that this guy would go for it on 4th down once, I would do it because he is the guy that goes for it arguably more than any other coach. Him, guys like Riverboat Ron Rivera, Doug Peterson goes for it a lot. It does change the outcome of these games, especially when it comes to the kicking game.
I'm trying to see if this is actually a line on.
Yeah. Well, let's have producer. Yeah. Well, let's move on with our stuff. But producer Tony, see if you can find us something.
So you're taking the yes that you think you will.
I think you will. Yeah. What do you think?
I'm gonna say no, only on the fact that in their own territory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
only
and that's why realistically, since I wouldn't take it if it was just even odds, then I guess I would say no. But I think it's a fun bet if you can get good odds. Like if you can get if you can get like $10 to win $50, that's kind of a fun one where who cares if you lose, but it's super exciting if you were right. And they don't even have to convert the first. Like you win the moment they said they snap the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Let's hit one or two more of these, Coop, over here. Let's see. We got Nick Foles over under line of 33.5 passing attempts in this game. 33.5.
That's quite a few. That's shocking. That's pretty high line. See that that dictates that Vegas thinks that they're not going to be holding Nick Foles back because some of these other lines that I see for quarterbacks are below 30 attempts. So the narrative that I've created for this to be a high scoring close game dictates that I would probably take the over. I would just lean into this game being fun. And if it's not fun, then I'll be pretty disappointed. But if you're like me and you gamble for fun and you usually gamble on things that you care about and you think are most likely to happen, then you're hoping this is a fun game. So I'm taking
which
the
is
over.
Probably everyone listening to the show.
Is that yeah?
If you're listening to this,
that's that
9
fun
a.m.
button.
on a
exactly.
Monday after
Yeah,
Christmas.
you're hoping this is going to be a fun game, and I am. I mean, actually, there's a lot of people that are probably in their fantasy leagues with like 10 points, and they just need Michael Pittman to do nothing. So there will be people rooting for this game to be bad, but I don't know. At this point, I just want to see fun football.
Yeah, the Colts are averaging 40 passes per game this season, which of course take with a grain of salt here with the switching of the guard of coaches, but they're slinging the ball. They're passing it. So I'll take the over as well, Coop.
Yeah.
I think it's a good line. I'd probably be staying away from it personally.
Exactly. That's where when I gamble, I usually gamble if it's something that I'm really confident in. This isn't one that I would bet. This is one that I wouldn't personally put my money on. For the sake of this game, we're having fun. I like it, but it's too we haven't seen the guy play. So it's just, you're taking too much risk.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
I would bet the Herbert over 270 yards. I would outright real life bet that one for sure.
Yeah, I might end up doing that. So
I think I'm going to do that too. Yeah. So we'll be rooting for that one for real with real money. But this one, I'll say over, but I'll say that the line is set really well, and you don't have to bet.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then another one here, Coop, Austin Eckler over 4.5 receptions, over or under 4.5 receptions. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it, man. I mean, he's hit that number in, every game except 4, right? So in 14 games now, he's hit it 10 times. Like that's what he does, So, and a couple of those games he had 4, which you don't hit it. Last week he had 2, which is probably why the number's low. But this is what makes Austin Eckler so good in fantasy football, is that he goes out, he has some of these games he's had games with 10, 11, and 12 receptions this year. The game before last against Miami, he had 8. So yeah, give me that over on that. That's the whole reason we start this guy.
That's wild. Yeah, I'll take the over as well. I think if all the rest of my predictions in this game have been in favor of this narrative that this is going to be a high scoring game, that both of these teams are going to be trying to score and succeeding at that. So I think Austin Eckler in that game script almost has to get more than 4.5 receptions.
This is how wild it is with this guy. So we said that he's hit over 4.5 10 times. Only one of those games was 5 receptions. So he's hit over 5.5 9 times, right? And if you look at it from like he's hit over 4.5 10 times, over 5.5 9 times, over 6.5 he's hit 8 times. Like the majority of these games are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 receptions. Like this guy, that's what he does. So
that's what he does.
Give me that. I'm 100% putting money on that one for sure.
And Uncle P saying, be careful because Chargers are getting healthier. They are.
That's true.
Yeah.
Healthy. Yeah. That's the thing with when you're betting overs and stuff, especially for receptions and passing yards, you don't want the Chargers to be too good. If they run away with this game, then you get Joshua Kelly eating clock and just, you're getting a Colts team that isn't putting up enough fight for the Chargers to have to fight back,
Right.
So if you're rooting for fun, you're hoping that the Colts bring something to the table too.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think they will. I think we've seen since Jeff Saturday took over that they can.
I mean, they crushed the Vikings in half a football game.
They did for that first half. They looked fantastic.
And then they got crushed. Yeah, that was two football games. They won the first one.
Yeah. All right, well, soon we are going to be breaking down the Week 16 matchups from this weekend. We just finished up our Monday Night Football predictions, but we'll be here until 10 o'clock answering all your fantasy questions. So throw any fantasy questions you have, throw them in the chat. We will get to them in between our recap of this week's games. You are listening to Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Join Corey Nando and friends, presented by Mayo Media, weekdays at 3 Eastern on Better Sports Network.
Brock Purdy card's already $85.
That was me who sent that joint.
That was you?
Yeah, just Javon sent it to me, and I was shocked. So I shared it with the group, and I was like, "Why people spending their money on this trash? Like Brock Purdy cards going for $85? That's crazy.
Brock Purdy could be a Super Bowl.
This card is worth more than Justin Fields."
Hey, man. Whether we like it or not, quarterback cards are worth way too much money, and he's not. I mean, don't you remember Bailey Zappi's cards went nuts for like
the same thing as the Bailey Zappi, Brock Purdy. So if you got a Brock Purdy in some place at the bottom of your shoebox, you could turn that into a quick $100.
Like how many? What do you think the population is on a PSA 10 Brock Purdy card?
Oh, it's probably not
4.
one because who
would send in the Brock Purdy cards?
Because what's out with this class, that gold standard is out in this class. That's really it.
Certified.
There's no Kenny Pickett Prism. There's no Malik Willis Select. It's just like contenders certified.
Don Russell certified.
Oh, Don Russell. Oh, Elite is out. That's right.
Certified Chronicles Prestige. In his college uniform though.
Yeah.
Immaculate Collegiate. Rookie card auto out of 99. $31 college uniform.
These are all college uniform Brock Purdy's.
Where did he go to college at?
I don't know, somewhere red. It looks like USC. Did he go to USC?
No, he didn't go to USC.
Wait, Iowa State.
Iowa State. Shout out to my boy Trevor Ray.
Brock Purdy from Iowa State leading the 49ers to the Super Bowl is everything that I want out of my life.
Yeah. I want to see him try that.
Brock Purdy 2022 certified blue auto out of 75.
What uniform? College uniform or pro uniform?
This is his training camp. He's got 49ers on. 49ers uniform. Let me show you the card. Number 8 out of 75.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think that bid is up to? It's got 40 bids on it. How much do you think it is?
40 bids on this got to be, what's it, about $90?
You, my friend, are off by a lot.
That's ridiculous. Oh, why couldn't I be dealt that hand?
Join Corey Nando and friends presented by Mayo Media weekdays at 3 Eastern on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show. We are doing stuff. It's Coop and the Hogs. It's time. No Simon. No parents. This is where we get wild. How you doing, Coop? You're muted. Coop and the Hog. Just
like
the Hog.
you said, no Simon. We don't know what we're doing.
We don't know what we're doing.
It's Christmas, baby. So we're having fun. We got Jonathan Santiago in the chat. Morning,
what up,
guys.
Jonathan? Good morning.
Morning, dude. Thanks for joining us. First year in fantasy, first year going to the finals. To the finals, baby.
Ooh,
let's go. Smash that fun button for Jonathan.
Go. Thanks for all the help. What are your thoughts on Davante Adams going up against the 49ers? What do you think, Coop?
I'm starting him. He's one of the top, he's a Pro Bowl wide receiver, one of the top wide receivers in the league. And the 49ers are a good defense. But you have to look at these defenses and what they do, right? You look at the Cowboys defense, they're pretty good versus the pass, but they let up like 130 yards on average on the ground, so you can run against them. This 49ers defense, they are killers against the run. They are the number one team in the league versus the run. They're the number one team they're one of the top 5 teams in the league versus the tight end. But overall, in terms of passing yards per game, they're almost exactly the middle of the pack. 16th. They're letting up 215 yards per game on average. You can throw against this team, and it's they don't really have the personnel. Like the Eagles, who are the hardest team to throw on, they have Darius Slay, they have James Bradbury. That would concern me, but they don't really
author names, those two guys.
Right, yeah. James Bradbury. Books. James Bradbury is a perfect author name.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't worry too much about that matchup. You're starting Davante Adams. We talked earlier on the show about like really worrying about certain matchups. That's not one you worry about. So you feel okay about him in that one.
Yeah, I'm with you. The 49ers are giving up the 5th most points to the wide receiver position fantasy. I'm not too worried. You got to roll Davante Adams out there. I would roll him out there. Yeah, regardless, even if it is a tough matchup, he's just one of those players.
Yeah.
Transcends the matchup.
Exactly. When you have guys that are that good, has to be multiple things. Things. Like we even said to start Stephon Diggs this week, but he was playing in a tough matchup and against the wind. Like I need a combination of like for me to bench Davante Adams, it needs to be a combination of like he's going against Sauce Gardner and
there's Legos in his shoes.
Yeah, he's got Legos in his shoes, right? Which impossible to play. Or 25 mile an hour winds, or Derek Carr was out, maybe something like that. But you need multiple narratives to bench these like superstar players, So for me, I'm good to go with that. I'm 100% getting it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Jay in here saying, "Hey guys, I was wondering if you like the chances in this game. Up 10 with Everett to play, and they have Dicker the kicker.
I love it.
You got up 10 and you got Everett, and all they got is a kicker. Jay, you got this.
If the score was even and it was Everett versus the kicker, I would like your chances, man.
Yeah.
I would like your chances. Like for Because think about it. Even if kicker, I mean, maybe you have bonuses for yards, but in normal leagues, even if he comes out and kicks 3 field goals, which is a lot, that's only 9 points. Like, and then that would be with Everett doing nothing.
Right.
So yeah, I feel good about that one.
What are your expectations for Everett this week with Keenan Allen, Mike Allen back?
Yeah, I don't love Everett this week. The problem with Everett is that not only are those guys all back, right? And Austin Eckler leads this team in targets. So it's really Eckler, then Keenan Allen, then Mike Williams, and Josh Palmer's floating around. But he doesn't usually play more than 70% of the snaps. He only has twice. Last game, he only played 62% of the snaps. So he doesn't play the full game. Obviously, you have to start Everett because you've already made that bed this week, but I would be planning to find somebody else to start next week. And I drop my tight end rankings every week. Tomorrow I'll come out with my tight end rankings for the last week here. So keep an eye on that. On Twitter @Coupe Fiasco is where you can find those.
Coupe Fiasco. It always plays the song now in my head every time I hear it. And Adam in here asking, any chance Gronk comes back and joins Tom Brady for a Super Bowl run?
No. So the rumors for that, Adam, were surrounding a tweet he sent out. He was like, I'm bored. I want to do something. Turns out the things that he was doing is working for FanDuel and also doing the Nickelodeon stuff he did this week. So
I didn't see him doing Nickelodeon. Oh, well, you guys mentioned it.
Yeah. He said that 2 teams called him though when he sent that tweet out, but he was just like, "Yeah, no, it's FanDuel that I'm doing. I'm not playing football anymore." So
I have seen some conflicting reports that saying that he's still kind of interested in it. I don't know how true those are, but Coop's right. A lot of the gas that we saw from that, or smoke, I should say, was surrounded that tweet. I don't think it's out of the question. I just don't think it's very likely at all.
Yeah, it's not crazy, but I don't know, man.
All right, Coop, let's get into this Week 16 recap. We had a lot of good games, a lot of good football this weekend. The game I want to start out with is the Ravens-Falcons game. Ravens pulled out a victory in this game, Christmas Eve day, 17-9. What do you think about this? What stood out to you in this game? We had a Desmond Ridder, Tyler Huntley standoff.
Yeah, I think Desmond Ridder actually looked pretty good. So, if you're a Falcons fan, you already knew you weren't, you weren't doing anything this year. So your quarterback comes out, throws for 200 yards. You got to be happy with it. The over/under for him was set at 120 or so. So he smashed that. He was able to find Drake London for 9 targets, 7 receptions, 96. That's 2 games in a row now. He's vibed with Drake London.
That's good.
What more can you ask for? It's like if he and Kyle Pitts and Drake London are on the same page, you got a young core. Those guys are all first round picks. So you have the 5th-year options if you pick them all up. Or Desmond Ridder isn't, but he you have him for 4 years at least. With those 5th-year options, you have a young core on rookie deals for a long time here. Tyler Algiers on a rookie deal. You could make some noise in the next couple of years if you get the right pieces. So you got to be feeling good about that. And then on the Ravens side, they did what they needed to do, right, Joe? Like you guys just needed to win, grind out the win, and hopefully get Lamar Jackson back and make a playoff push. So the Ravens took care of business.
They did. And the more I kept thinking about it, the more it's not about this game. It's just about the Lamar Jackson situation and how he's got so much leverage right now.
Yeah.
Right. Like you said it perfectly, Coop, where you said they had to grind out a win here. It was a struggle. This is not just straight up like, the easiest win against a really bad Falcons team, a 5-10 Falcons team who's, playing their, not their main starters that they came into the season with, missing a lot of their talent. The Ravens are in a tough position as an organization with Lamar. They got to essentially pay him if they want to make this a realistic playoff run this season. So that's something to keep an eye on, something that's interesting in this whole each of these games. They kind of have this whole narrative behind them.
Yeah, and you got to be careful with that, like not paying these guys, because you see what happens. At some point, Lamar Jackson put an offer out there that probably was reasonable, and the way he started this season, it made it seem like, ouch, they didn't pay him, and he was sort of averaging like 5 touchdowns a game for the first couple games there, showing you what he can really do. So Yeah, like think about the Raiders. They probably regret not picking up that 5th-year option on Josh Jacobs now because he looks awesome. And
he looks fantastic. Yeah.
And this week he just commented, I'm sick of losing. It's been 4 years. So that sounds like a guy who's planning on packing his bags and taking the show on the road.
Right. On the running back side of the Ravens, we saw essentially a split workload here. Gus Edwards at 11 carries, 99 yards. J.K. Dobbins 12 carries for 59 yards.
Don't love that.
Don't like that. Yeah. Every time I felt like I looked up at the TV at my grandma's house, I saw Gus Edwards running. And I'm like, what are they doing? Why are they running Gus so much?
Right. And you're just pissed. You just smack the bowl of Werther's originals on the ground.
Yeah. I'm just like, pick it up, Grandma.
Pick that up, Grandma.
What are you doing, Mamu? Come on.
And then she like quietly, like you're like, what is it? You're like, Gus Edwards. And then she remembers that she got you a Gus Edwards jersey for Christmas. And she's like all sad. Oh, why do we have to go so sad with that story?
She's straight Brooklyn Italian. She's never quiet about anything. Yeah, this is impossible. She's like, what do you mean you love Gus Edwards?
She would have grabbed you by the ear. She would have grabbed you by the ear and dragged you in the other room.
Eat some more pasta.
So yeah.
I'm sorry.
But the thing is, I mean, you know this, JL. They love Gus Edwards. They paid him pretty well, right? What was it, like 2 years, 14 mil? That's $7 million a year is makes him a top 15, 20 paid running back in average per year. Like they like this guy, and what's not to like? He averages 5 yards per carry for his career, 9 yards a carry in this game. That's just the way it's going to be. So you're going to have to deal with that. I'm still starting J.K. Dobbins in a lot of places because the upside, we've seen it. Over 100 yards the past 2 games, 4.5 yards per carry this game is good. So, but
so he's on a 2-year, $9 million contract, which puts him as the 12th in terms of cap hit, 12th highest,
right?
And just cash 18th highest running back.
Yeah, so they like him. They like the guy, and
9th highest paid Raven.
Right. You would think it would pay off for him. It just bad luck has led to both guys getting hurt. Patriots have had the same thing where you think, oh, why are the Patriots stacking up on all these running backs? Well, there have been games where they didn't have either Ramondre Stevenson or Damian Harris, and they traded away Sony Michel. So they lost James White to injury with a career-ending hip injury. This is the way it goes sometimes. You got to load up.
J.K. Dobbins, this is supposed to be a solid matchup for him, right? Going against Atlanta here. He's got Pittsburgh this upcoming week. Are you confident starting him going into week 17? If you're heading into the championship, are you throwing Dobbins in your lineup?
Yeah, I think so, because this is going to be more of a must-win game for them. And I mean, they've already got it locked up, but they want to win they're fighting to win that division still, right? They still can pull it away. If they win both games, the Ravens do, then they win the division because they have the Bengals to end the season. So it's like, but if they lose this game, then that last game is meaningless for them, right? They already lose the division. The Bengals wrap it up. So this is a must-win game for them. They want the division. They want home field advantage. So they're going to be playing hard, and I think they're going to lean into J.K. Dobbins here. When you're playing the Falcons, you can afford to put in the backup running back and have him mess around or whatever.
Right.
So yeah,
that makes sense.
I'm going with them.
Let's move on to our next game here, Coop. We got the Detroit Lions going against the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, man, they just somehow just destroyed the Lions here, 37-23.
This is one of those ones that, like you said, every time I looked over at the TV, it was a Panthers running back running for like 40 yards or scoring a touchdown, right? Like we had a debate kind of like, oh, Chuba Hubbard or Donta Foreman. Turns out there were no wrong answers. Even Raheem Blackshear scored a touchdown. Like all these guys.
All three of them got 20+ points.
Right. So yeah, that was cool. I'm on board. And but once again, for the third time here, Donta Foreman, when they're in a positive game script, Donta Foreman gets 20 carries. Chuba still gets double digit, but Donta Foreman is the guy you want of the two. Make no mistake.
Yeah, 21 for Deonta Foreman, 12 from Chuba Hubbard. I'm with you. Yeah, it seems like Deonta Foreman is their main guy. It's just highly dependent on that game script.
Both, yeah, exactly. I think Foreman, he's going to get the most work. And then Chuba, if it's a game that they're winning, you can get him in there. Now, next week, the matchup for them is against the Buccaneers. So, not sure that's the right matchup for a Chuba Hubbard game.
Right.
Yeah. So, I'd probably be leaning off that. I'm off the Chuba wagon for next week. But Donta Foreman, I'm off the Chuba train. But no Chuba chew for me.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
We have fun on the show. But yeah, so but I would still start Donta Foreman if I needed him.
Yeah,
even against a tough run D. But you can't go two layers deep. I'm not going Chuba.
That's fair. DJ Moore, he was the highest scoring wide receiver on the team. If you started him, you're happy with that. Hopefully you didn't start anyone else on this the receivers on this Panthers team.
Yeah, the only people you can trust are you can start DJ Moore, and then if you had to pick another one, it would be Terrace Marshall because he at least gets the snap share. Laviska Shenault, he splits snaps with Shi Smith, and they use 2 tight end sets too much, so you can't really go there with Shenault or anybody else. If you wanted to take a dart throw in a DFS, it would be Terrace Marshall, even though he didn't have that great a game here, but he at least plays all the snaps, you know?
Right. On the Lions side, rushing wise, DeAndre Swift, disappointing. I started him in a few leagues, 4 carries for 12 yards, 3.5 fantasy points. Jamal Williams, not much better. 3.4 fantasy points on this week. What do you think that the reason for that is, Coop?
So at least here's the crazy thing is before the previous games, they each played like 20% of the snaps and was split pretty badly. This game, Swift played 56% of the snaps. The other guys only played 20. So Swift finally got the snaps, but he didn't score the points, man. The Panthers defense deserves more credit than they get.
Yeah.
They're a tough defense for running backs. They're a tough defense for tight ends, right?
They're really the bright spot of that team.
Yeah, they really are. So, and that's what's keeping them in it. That's why they have a shot. If they beat the Buccaneers, the Panthers could be making the playoffs. So it's all defense. Yeah. But again, we have to take these guys and look forward to next week because that's the week where that matters. They get the Bears. It's Lions, Bears, over under. The initial over under, JL, 51.5.
That's pretty interesting. You got the Justin Fields narrative there, right? It makes sense given what the Lions have been doing.
So potential shootout game there. I could be sold on Swift and Jamal Williams, but again, they fall into that category of if I have anyone that's playing 60 to 70% of the snaps, a running back that I can count on to be the starter and play all the snaps, I'm going to go with those guys before I go with Swift. So I'm going to start, Najee Harris, David Montgomery, anybody that I know is the lead dog because we've seen it before with this team. They're not afraid to mix and match, use Jamal Williams in the goal line. That's not good for fantasy.
Yeah, and it shows that this running game is not game script proof, There's a situation where they don't need they feel like the passing game is much better for the team, and they're going to do that.
As producer Tony points out here, like when you go down big like they did early, and they did because the Panthers came out all over them, you have to throw. So, that's why you only get 4 carries for Swift, but
would have loved to see more targets for him.
He got 5 targets. He only caught 1, dude. I don't know what was up with that. You got to catch the ball, brother.
Brother.
Got to catch that ball, bro.
And then on the receiving side, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a pretty decent game. Nothing to really blow you away.
As Amon-Ra St. Brown as you get, man. He's a low A dot. Well, he's low A dot. He's not fast. So you don't usually he doesn't break massive touchdowns. So it's hard for him to get those games where he has like 160 or 170 yards because he's not a guy that runs those routes, right? So, 13 targets and 70 yards, that's what you get from a guy like that. Great in full PPR. In standard, he's one of the guys that has the biggest swing from PPR to standard. And not many people play standard, but guys like that are deceptively just okay in standard. Whereas in PPR, he's amazing.
Right. Those receptions really boost his numbers.
Big time.
Cool. Let's move on to our Bears game. Bills predictably beat out the Bears here 35-13. 35-13. Justin Fields had a somewhat down-to-earth game. 9.86 fantasy points. I think a lot of people probably started Justin Fields this week, hoping for that rushing upside that we've seen from him. Are you confident starting him next week?
Yeah, absolutely. It was the weather. They're basically playing on pavement. It was so cold there, and it was the winds were above 20 miles an hour. The fact that they came down and scored on a passing touchdown on their first drive had me like, wow, like maybe it's not going to be that bad. And then as the game progressed and we watched it, it was like, yeah, not easy to pass in this game. The leading receiver, the leading receiver had 2 catches for 52 yards for the Bears. Cole Kmet had led in targets with 6, but he only had 27 yards. It was tough to throw downfield. And you guys had the meteorologist on the morning show, the Front Yard Fantasy morning show from 11 to 1 on game days. This week it was Saturday. Usually it's on Sunday. Meteorologist came on. He said, hey, these are the 3 games I'm worried about. I was only worried about 2, but he was kind of right with the Steelers game. He was like, I'm worried about this game too. Freezing cold, high winds, just not a good place to pass. And you look at the other side of the ball, same thing is true. Josh Allen, very strong fella, but his leading receiver only had 45 yards. Sometimes it's just hard to throw when it's windy. End of story.
Right. I'm with you.
I'm back on both these guys next week.
Both these guys next week.
Unless the weather is crazy. I mean, and you can't predict it to be. So I'm just, next week we just go back to business as usual with Josh Allen, Justin Fields. Get him in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. David Montgomery, who we were hoping was going to have a really solid game given the weather, kind of leaning into that narrative a little bit last week. 16 carries, 62 yards, 11.4 fantasy points. See, decent enough for a running back, right? That's what you expect.
We kind of knew this would happen. We knew it would be ton of carries, low yardage because the other team knows you can't throw it, so they stack the box. That's what happens in these games.
Right.
Devin Singletary, he was the star. He was the shining
star of the show. Yeah.
He was able to really make it happen. And James Cook looked good too. So they ran all over him. 254 yards on the ground as a team and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Solid. Yeah. Very solid. 23.5 fantasy points from Devin Singletary and 17.8 if you started James Cook this week.
And now if you're another team in the AFC, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Ravens, the teams that are going to be in the playoffs, that's got to terrify you. That's got to scare you because guess what? Up where the Bills play, Ralph Wilson Stadium in Buffalo, it gets like that.
That was Highmark.
Well, they sold the naming rights, but everyone still calls it the Ralph. Like
gotcha.
the locals, they still call it the Ralph, dude. It'll always be. It's like you can call it whatever you want. It's the Ralph. So that's where they play, and it gets cold, it gets windy. And when you look at what they did to the Bears, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, that's the last thing you want to see if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. And you have to go up there and play in the tundra.
Right.
Forget that. Miss me with that.
Yeah, Dawson Knox, Gabe Davis had decent games because they got the touchdowns, but if they didn't get those touchdowns, they probably wouldn't have. Right. So really none of the receiving options on the Bills were too exciting. But like you said, weather.
If you started Gabe Davis, you basically had either you had no one else or you had bad process and you got lucky.
Right.
Congratulations.
Right. In another weather game, we got the Saints and the Browns. Coop. This game looked very not fun to play in.
Yeah,
very not fun.
One of those that was like disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know how much we can take away from this. Alvin Kamara had a great game, 20 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown. 19 fantasy points, which is great. If you started Taysom Hill, worked out. Yeah, 11.6 fantasy points. Yeah, pretty decent.
Yeah, you knew the risk, you knew the reward, right? With Taysom Hill, and
you got somewhere in the middle.
You got it, dude. Yeah, he didn't throw at all. He didn't throw a single pass. He didn't catch any passes, but he scored that touchdown. That makes all the difference.
Right.
On the other side, Nick Chubb looked good. Kareem Hunt looked terrible. And then they tried their best to pass, but if you saw how they were getting it done, like Amari Cooper, 10 targets, 6 for 72. The big play, the 21-yard play, was basically a slant pass that traveled like 5 yards in the air, and then he just found a little seam. Like It was not it was just like the other ones. Like look at these other guys. He had 72 yards on a lot of yak. The next leading receiver had 18 yards. David Bell, 1 catch for 18. Just not a good place for throwing the ball. And so keep an eye on the weather. It matters.
Yeah, it absolutely matters here. And we got a question or comment here from Saran saying, I made it to the Super Bowl by a little over 1 point now, the fantasy championship. Now I feel like starting Brock Purdy over Tua in week 17. What do you guys think?
Oh, man. Brock Purdy is getting the Raiders over under 44.5, and they're favored by 5.5 points. Tua is going to New England to play in the cold, over under 43.5, and Dolphins favored by 2.5. I don't know, man. I think I still start Tua. It's tough because the Patriots do have some good personnel, in terms of covering, Jack Jones. They have 3 good corners named Jones: Jack Jones, Jonathan Jones, and Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones scored another touchdown this week.
Did.
Yeah, crazy. He's been really cool. But I don't know, man. The last time these teams played, Miami beat up on them pretty good. It was also down in Miami in September where it's nice and warm. So, but still, I don't know. I think I'd still start Tua. What do you think? Are you going Purdy?
I'm tempted to go Purdy here. Going against those Raiders, it's really not a tough matchup. He's been getting a solid 15 to 20 fantasy points week in, week out.
He's
This is
very
going to
safe.
depend a bit on your matchup. Yeah, if you need that safe, a lot of risk elsewhere in your lineup, I'd be okay pivoting from Tua. I do think he has a higher upside than Purdy. I think that is pretty clear. But I think the floor is relatively lower for Tua than it is for Brock Purdy now.
There's no chance of Deebo Samuel, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you got to look at your matchup and kind of see if you need to go upside or safety, because I think Brock Purdy's a safe play and Tua is the upside play.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a tough one.
In a vacuum, I think I'd lean Tua with you.
I think so.
Typically that's how I want to play. I don't think Tua is going to come out and have two terrible games in a row. I think he'll come back and be fine. But the situation's tough, and Bill Belichick is a formidable opponent.
Right. And if you start Brock Purdy over Tua and it doesn't work, you're going to regret that a little more than starting the guy that we know is likely the better player. Right. Tua is probably the better player.
Yeah, I'm with you. In this Kansas City Chiefs game, it was the Chiefs came out on top 24-10. I expected this to be a much higher scoring game than it was.
Kind of disappointed. We needed this one to be more fun, because there were a lot of, with all the win games and stuff, I was banking on this game to be more fun than it was.
Yeah. The under definitely hit. I think it was at 50.5. 50.5 is right. I also expected it to be a little bit more fun here. Geno Smith was fine, 13.2 fantasy points. Patrick Mahomes, 23 fantasy points, which is exactly what you expect from Patrick Mahomes. On the running back side for the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker had a good game, 26 carries for 107 yards, no touchdowns, 15.5 fantasy points.
At least, and the big thing is, even if you didn't start Kenneth Walker this week because he was, questionable coming in, now if you survived, you can trust him.
You're confident.
He's healthy. He's 26 carries. I think he's all right, Joe. Right?
Yeah, he looks fine. On the receiving side for the Seahawks, DK Metcalf led this team, nine targets, 7 receptions, 81 yards, 15.1 fantasy points. You brought up DK Metcalf as I think he said he has the Jets this upcoming week, right?
Yeah, that's bad.
Are you confident starting DK Metcalf? Or you benching him?
I'm going to try and start somebody else. You might have to start him, because he is the top dog. But I'm just saying, Sauce Gardner has been a real problem. He's going to win defensive rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year, yeah,
no question. Yeah.
So
yeah, if you can avoid it, then you probably should. And this week we and a lot of people got big time rug pulled by Pete Carroll and the Seahawks with Marquise Goodwin. We liked him as a sneaky DFS play. He was a guy that we're like, he's going to step up in Tyler Lockett's absence. They pulled a complete 180 on us, and they had Laquan Treadwell come out and be the second guy out wide. They kept Marquise Goodwin in the same role he was in before, where he just played in the slot and stuff. And Treadwell came out, and he was the second guy. Goodwin, end of the day, 51% of the snaps, while Treadwell played 86%. And Goodwin had 4 targets, didn't catch any of them.
Brutal. I started him in a couple leagues.
Me too. I started him in DFS. I was like, I'm so smart, dude.
Yes, I'm like high scoring game. Marquise Goodwin's going to be filling in for Tyler Lockett, and none of that happened.
I was Mr. Cool, dude. I was like, dude, I'm a genius. He went to the Olympics. Like, of course
so
he's
fast.
He's so fast. He's so cool. He's that Olympic tattoo on his arm. Like, he's cool. Not cool.
He's cool.
Not cool. The opposite of cool. So thank you, Marquise Goodwin, for being super not cool.
Super not cool.
Yeah. Also, Noah Fant. If you were leaning into him, you got lucky with that one. Lucky with the touchdown, because boy, 2 receptions for 12 yards. Ruh-roh.
Yeah, that's not something you want to bank on.
Nope. On the other side, Travis Kelce was great. Jerick McKinnon, you know, he did his pass work stuff, but they were able to run the ball. So Isaiah Pacheco was the one that got most of the touches, you know, and then Juju was fine. You know, it's like McKinnon, again, he scored the touchdown. So the guy just, he doesn't stop scoring touchdowns, but, you know.
He's like the first half of the season's Jamal Williams.
Right. Yeah. Reverse. Yeah. Receiving, pass catching Jamal Williams. He's like James White. That's what he is. Just makes big plays when you need them. Only in the
12.8 fantasy points is good, right? Anybody who started him after those 2 really high-powered weeks, you're at least you let out an exhale of relief here.
He looks good, man. He makes at least one really good play every week. That's for sure.
Right, but I do think that we see here that he's definitely somewhat game script dependent. Yeah, for at least those big games.
Don't be fooled by Kadarius Toney. He's still returning kicks and punts, and he only played 16 snaps. So yes, he scored the touchdown, but that's taking a huge risk starting that guy in your championship. So be careful.
Yeah, I would stay far away from Kadarius Toney in this point in the season.
That's trap play. Play.
Better boss in the chat to survive the 0 from Goodwin in one league, not in another.
I know.
That is how
that's on us, man. We were all, dude. I didn't think there was a chance in the world this guy wasn't going to step in. Like Laquan Treadwell. What the hell? The guy hasn't even been playing this year. Like,
right. Yeah.
They just
it must have been a throw off the defense type of thing.
Well, the thing is, some organizations have specific depth charts at each position where it's like if the split end goes down, this guy plays. But if the flanker goes down, a different guy plays. And if the slot guy goes down, a different guy plays. The Cowboys used to do that. The Eagles used to do that. The Bengals would do that. Whereas some other teams, like the Rams, they would basically have one dude that would be the backup for all 3 spots, right? Like in last year, Gabe Davis was the backup for all 3 spots. So it doesn't always work the same with these teams. Now we know that must be how the Seattle does it. The backup split end was not Marquise Goodwin. He stayed in the slot. The backup split end was Laquan Treadwell. Whoops.
Yeah, we're bringing up a good point that he did leave the game with a wrist injury. He did leave early in the second half, but he came back. He came back into that game. He wasn't getting used much before that. But
you don't come in via injury and play 90% of the snaps. Laquan Treadwell was just in the whole game. He's played the whole time.
Yeah, but it is worth noting there the wrist injury. Let's say one more game here. Got the Giants against Minnesota. This was the Minnesota came out on top 27-24 in this game. Saquon Barkley had a pretty good game.
Yeah, I just want to make one last point on Laquan Treadwell that in the game, Treadwell, he played of his snaps, he played 44 snaps out wide, whereas Marquise Goodwin, he played 31 snaps in the slot and only 7 out wide. So he was just a slot guy. You know what I mean? That's just how they did it. So, but what game do we move on to? Sorry, I'm still
actually. I just realized we do not have time to hit on this new game. So
I wasted that time talking about that game. Just
squeezed in that game.
That's cooping the hogs.
Cooping the hogs for you. Show sheet out the window.
Show sheet out the window.
We're all about having fun.
That's right, baby.
Anything you're looking for? You're excited about for tonight's game, Coop?
Yeah, I hope it's a good game. I want to see Jeff Saturday keep this job. So I'm rooting for the Colts to at least make it competitive. I want more Jeff Saturday. I want more random folks getting a shot. I want it to get to the point where dudes like Madden championship guys are coming in to be offensive coordinators. I want it to get wild. So I'm rooting for Saturday. That's what I want.
You want to be an offense. You want to be a coach.
That's the next step. That's the next step. I'm just saying, dude, if you're pulling for guys to come out of left field, yeah, I'm next.
Who's next? Yeah, who's next on that list?
Madden guys, then me.
Yeah. Well, you've been listening. Thank you so much for listening to us, hanging with us this morning, joining the chat, talking ball this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 to 10, and every weekday, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be here all year as well. I hope you enjoy that Monday Night Football game. This is Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show. We're Front Yard Fantasy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Let's go. It's Keith and Moose. Keith and Moose coming up next. So stay tuned on this channel.